Tell me where do I go? Tell me where do I take us? Your heart is starting to slow. May the water be safe. As I dive in, blood stains washing underneath the waves. I'll be reaching out to keep you safe. to break their spine and reclaim what once was mine. Those cravens backstabbed me, deceived me. Never shall I tolerate their crimes again. Now let the hunt begin. Oh, 7,000 souls scared and daunted.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to tonight's broadcast of the Aegis Champions League, where we are getting into our fall 2023 playoffs, the most competitive season we've had so far, TDS, and we are finally getting into top 16 and getting into these really high-stakes matches. My name's Gordo. I'm joined by TDS on the broadcast as always. We wanted to go live a little bit early today, talk about some of the other matchups. We are going to be featuring Clown Gaming versus Lotus Exiles on the broadcast tonight. But since we got a little bit before that's going to get started, I wanted to take some time and talk about some of the other matches going on around the league.
Exactly, and like you were pointing out, it's the most competitive season for a reason. It's not only because we do have great teams here and there, but before we even went into the playoffs, we had a hard time trying to single out one of the matchups we wanted to go into for playoffs, because there were a lot of them. There were a lot of good matchups that we could have taken into account for the playoff, for the highlighted matchup of the week, and we ended up going with Clown Gaming. But that just goes to show how close and the level of each of the teams that are going into players can be, and I'm excited to see how the rest of the matchups are going to end up going, particularly as of now, if I'm not wrong, CCG, F, and TFT are playing, currently tied 1-1, so already a matchup that is going the whole way, and maybe this is another matchup that we're going to get the opportunity to see go the whole way.
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, that's not even to mention stuff like TFT versus CCG Futures, where we wouldn't even have that pegged on our short list, right, to be a featured matchup for week one. Just feels like on paper that TFT should be such a dominant force there, but CCG Futures giving them a run for their money and could even end up walking away from it. We'll give more updates from around the league throughout tonight as we get them, but some other matchups we were considering here as our featured matchups still definitely worth talking about a little bit. Peach Cats versus CCG Esports main, one that I want to chat about a little bit. The Peach Cats have been kind of the breakout stars of the ACL season a little bit. I think a lot of people have become fans of this team. It's really cool, the roster they've been able to bring together from a lot of ex-Wildcard folks, Moose Hater, Keel, Wixie, Isles, some of them still with Wildcard, of course, but playing all together in the offseason and then alongside ONAT. And they've been taking names. They've had a fantastic run through the regular season, coming away with the first seed, and it's going to be really exciting to see what they look like facing off against their opponents here.
Exactly, a team that we highlighted as such an exciting roster. I even went and said that Wixie, to me, so far looking like the best individual player from what we've seen so far. Really exciting performances, really competitive roster, and should be one of the front runners to try and take it all. Now, it's not like they are into an easy matchup, because CCG is strong enough to try and fight them back. Like we mentioned the roster consistently, because it's a roster that does have the capabilities to try and fight off multiple players. But the problem that we always talk about with CCG is the fact that they cannot keep a consistent roster, to put it like that, right? The fact that we haven't seen the consistent power from CCG yet that we want to see. But this could be a really defining factor for both of these teams, particularly because CCG, if they get it together and they win against Peach Cats, then that can be a statement saying we are here to play and we want to take notice of us. And if Peach Cats wins against a CCG roster that does feel a bit more consolidated, that also can mean that Peach Cats is the true deal and you have to be worried about facing them.
Yeah, looking at other contenders for match of the week that we were talking about, Mirage Alliance versus Keep Pathing Bot, definitely one you got to keep on your radar as well. Mirage Alliance are reigning ACL champions, now faced with much stiffer competition coming on into the fall split. They were still able to perform pretty well in the regular season and make it to these playoffs, of course, and then facing off against a Keep Pathing Bot roster that has continued to surprise and continue to have pretty solid performances themselves in that very competitive Demacia group, had CCG, Winthrop, Mirage Alliance Developmental all in there, and they were able to put up a pretty good fight, as well as Sajed on that team, somebody that I really want to highlight because that guy's just been popping off every time I get to see him. We'll show our playoff preview here in a couple of minutes, the playoff teaser. So great play by Sajed in that one. And then having been watching some of the scouting combines that have been going on across the last couple of weeks, it was Mirage had theirs pretty recently. Evil Geniuses had theirs. And then there was the Supernova one as well. And all of those, or at least in the ones that I got to see, every time Sajed showed up on stream, this guy was making huge plays. And he's somebody that I really have my eyes on coming into this playoffs to be one of the big stars of the whole thing if his team is able to continue moving forward.
Exactly. One of those star players that you can clearly just single out from the team. Not saying that Keep Bathing Bot is not a great team in general, but the star player that you know that it's going to be played around and that can carry the team out is going to be Sajed. He's the main starting point, he's the main firepower, and it's a player that you can see just completely trying to destroy everyone around him. And he has the highlight moments because he has been able to showcase why he was one of those prospects consistently. That being said, it's not an easy matchup, right? Like, he's going against one of the better teams in Mirage Alliance. It's not going to be an easy matchup at all, but if they are able to go over it, it also kind of brings attention to the team and saying, okay, we're not just here for show, we also have things to say. It's trying to keep the momentum going for them, but also being able to finally just truthfully show that they are front runners for the tournament, right? It's not only being able to win against a team that maybe theoretically is stronger than you, but also the fact that you're going to be able to just say, we are a force to be reckoned with, and you need to be careful about us, even if you think you are better than us as players. And that is something to keep in mind consistently for some of these teams.
Certainly is. And now, before we get into tonight's featured match, we do want to show back that playoff teaser that PVS has put in so much work editing, and all of us have put in so much work grabbing all of the clips for us. Let's roll that one, get everybody excited, and we'll be back to start on off tonight's match. As here comes Existence, flanking in the bottom side. It's a double kill. It's a triple kill over to Wixie. And now trying to run for it, but he gets stunned up by the gravity well. This is going to be a quadra kill for Wixie. Yeah, making their play out of Sunzi here. The knockup from Isles does land, and Sunzi might be driving for too long, but a shot
Too long.
They're going for a Neo. What a crash down next. They're going for the ace. They have the Azir. It's a pentakill for City Witty.
Sword is gonna jump under the tower, getting the double-double. Levity trying to hold on, manages to re-stabilize. Especially when you can re-engage like that, conveying 1v4, no fear in their heart. 13-3, make it 14, make it 15-16.
Diving onto Zamudo, trying to burn him down. Big solar flare, but they're not getting any stuns. Zamudo falls. There's the quickness. Recharged up. It's a complete wipe.
He's gonna lose the spot lane inhibitor turret. Now gonna try to clean it up against that Baron recall. Debonair looking for the read. He takes him down. He doesn't need to land the charm. Debonair.
On to Chucky. Mobility's gonna have to be huge in this fight. He pops the Feather Storm. Will not be locked out of target yet. Picks up one, picks up two. Mobility is gonna turn this game around for Winthrop University.
Doing good damage. Pick up the Jace, but that's all they will pick up is 2 members. 3 members go down. Pain Shell's trying to escape here, will escape.
As they're getting a lot of damage back onto Tomio, but keep an eye on Young. He's now in the back line, and he wants to find that assassination onto Matsu, but Matsu not outplaying him. It's Young outplaying them!
It's
Ulti Kai'Sa.
Yeah.
It's big.
Look, backline.
Yeah. Sauce on a Shochi, he doesn't manage to get over the wall. The satchel charge being back in, but the follow-up damage is not yet coming through. They finally managed to take him out and kill his Skilled Warrior, but now it's Perry looking for the steal on the Dragon. He gets that as well.
Rel and the Tryndamere, Baron down to 4,000.
Huge ultimate from the Jarvan. And look at all the damage coming out from Quacker. And the rest of the team is just going to take over. Takes the turret and falls. Lunar gets away. And here comes messages. The Tryndamere mid pick is cleaning up house. It's the curtain call. It's forcing bows from everybody on Gravity Galaxy.
Rock in and ult him, Marty.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's fat.
Exiles is leading the charge with the aftershock, but here comes Ari and Dell. He manages to steal away the quickness, snacks out of Cryogen, and Debonair going to be the first target. He goes down to an Ori B, and over the wall is Pockets, gets the handshake out of 2, and Ori B going to flash right after. The 2 kills over, and more with the dive going in on a Cryogen. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you once again to PBS for throwing that all together for us. Let's get into tonight's matchup. We've got, first of all, on the blue side, Clown Gaming coming on in as the first seed out of the Zon group. If we could bring up their roster graphic here, they have really surprised everybody. Sorry, they are the second seed out of the Zon group. I'm confusing myself based on last week's matchup, but still, they're upsetting everybody on their way here, outperforming Cincinnati Fear, outperforming CCG Futures, some of those big star-studded lineups that we expected to dominate the Zon group. Between Clown Gaming and Gentle Hearts, I think they've really shocked everybody with what high seeds they've managed to secure coming on in here. But now they've got a real test as they start to play up against some of the best teams from the other groups, TDS.
Exactly. They pretty much pulled off the surprising plays by not only putting themselves in second, but coming really, really close to taking the first place as well. The first seed could have been a difference of inches to whoever won that game. Honestly, Clown Gaming was really close to doing that. That being said, as a second seed now, they have to fight in the other side of the bracket compared to Gentle Hearts, but I do think that they are a team that you cannot give anything away against them because they are such a consistent roster. They play really well as a team. Sometimes it feels like they don't excel individually, even though they have players that have showcased really good individual prowess, but the best part about their team is the cohesion that it feels like every time they play together have. And I'm really excited to see how they are going to perform against obviously the better teams, but how they are going to try and outplay them as a team much more so than as individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd really want to highlight Cryogen from this roster. Super young support, very new to the competitive scene here, and has really been putting up big numbers. A lot of priority towards the Senna and the Rel from him and from this team all in all. And they've really been experimenting with a lot of those different Senna duos. They've played some Senna Jarvan, they've played some Senna Yasuo, they've played some Senna Nyla, and I'd really love to see all of those starting to come together here and really just give them a whole new layer to the draft. Excelsis as well. Been tweeting about this league a lot, been tweeting about his team's performance a lot, and you can just tell they're all taking this super seriously. They all see this as an opportunity to prove themselves coming into the 2024 season, and really excited to see what they're going to be able to do here up against our other team tonight, their opposition, Lotus Exiles.
Which we have seen a couple of these players not only playing in amateur for quite a while, but even Dark Wings recently and the NACL. These are players. Sorry.
Oh, all right. Well, TDS choking up a little bit there, but Lotus Exiles coming in huge this time around here as they've got themselves Lawrence, Shorter Race, Darkwing, City Witty, and Rovex. Plenty of folks who have been in and around the NACL for quite a while. Darkwing's going to be the name that sticks out in particular to a lot of fans of the NACL, the longtime AoE mid laner there. And really excited to see him pairing up with the likes of City Witty and Rovex, the role swap duo bot lane down there. And then Lawrence making his return to the top lane, and Shorter Ace bringing all of his veterancy in the jungle as well. Make this a star-studded roster that you really have to give a lot of respect towards.
100%. And now that I'm not choking, hopefully it doesn't happen again. Like we were saying, with the firepower from the roster, particularly obviously you have to look into the mid lane with Dark Wings. Player that is really known, but it's not only known, but he can perform really well on the carries. I'm excited to see his performance against Debonair.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, that's going to be a fun matchup to check on out. A lot of veterans from the UCI roster or UCI rosters past here on Clown Gaming. We've seen the likes of Excelsis and Debonair over on those kinds of squads before. Now moving on to new pastures with a new organization. But I think they've been performing really, really well together. Boil the Oil also a top laner that I feel like has really come into his own this split. We'll be getting all-star ballots out and voted on soon. And yeah, this is such a star-studded league that it's hard to make any calls about who exactly would be up there, but really making some very good showings over the course of this split, as this has been a team that we've gotten the privilege to feature on stream twice. So feels like it's one that we're a little bit more familiar with. Meanwhile, over on the side of Lotus, though, I mean, City Witty has been a fantastic performer at ADC, just getting better and better split over split ever since he made that role swap from jungle. And he's been playing in a lot of those combines we were talking about earlier as well. And I feel like has also, in the games that I've gotten to see, put up some very impressive showings.
He's become an AD carry that can consistently carry his team. And I think that taking away from the consistent attention that he had to pay as a jungler enabled his playstyle a little bit better. And I think against Seb, which has been a highlighted player so far so consistently, it's going to be a really interesting matchup. It feels like up-and-coming AD carries in a sense. Yes, CD has been playing for a bit more, but up-and-coming AD carries that are performing really, really well so far. And there's a matchup that may end up going into the bot lane quite a bit, thinking about how these bot lanes have performed so far.
Absolutely here, as there's going to be a lot to be talking about here. This bot lane in particular is one that's going to be interesting to see, right? Because it's kind of like these long-time stars, but who have made a swap in the bottom lane, right? City Witty, a former jungler, Ro16, a former mid laner, and have been duoing up quite a bit recently here. Meanwhile, up against Zev and Cryogen, a younger duo, maybe a less experienced at the top level duo. I remember Zev coming in to substitute in for, I think it was a return of the Middle Sticks last split, and having some solid performances there, but just unproven, I think, at the highest level of competition, as we start to look towards things like high level NACL queues, as well as over towards things like ACL, right? We're in that level of competition now, TDS. We're not just a forgettable league anymore. We've got some of the best names in North America here, and you got to see as the pressure gets on, as you get into these deeper playoff runs, who's going to be able to sink and who's going to be able to swim. So let's get into our predictions from around the Aegis community coming into today's matchup, and you can see it actually looks like Clown Gaming's coming away a little bit favored.
Yeah, overall, it feels like there's still. I'm sorry for that. I don't know what's happening with my voice.
All right, we'll let TDS recover okay for a moment or two.
I think it's good. I think it's
good. You
good?
Now. All right.
Well, I don't know what's happening. I'm dying over here for some reason, but like you were mentioning, Clown feel like the favorites so far, and it's understandable why. Cover for me. Sorry for that.
All right, I got you. So, TDS, gonna cough it out one more time as we are checking out our predictions here. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of favoritism towards Clown, and it looks like this desk is gonna be no stranger to it. I just think at some point, I gotta stop predicting against Clown Gaming. I'm pretty sure I predicted against Clown Gaming every time we ended up having one of these for this squad, and they've just proven us wrong again and again and again. Outperforming, I think, the pedigree that they come into this league with and consistently finding themselves wins. Meanwhile, Lotus Exiles, I felt like they had the tools to be a first seed, a second seed, and they ended up coming in here as a third seed. Now, no shame in dropping matches to Mirage Alliance and Peach Cats, but I think it is emblematic of Lotus Exiles. They've got a lot of individual talent, but it doesn't feel like they've all collapsed together to become something more, at least not yet.
Okay, I think I can talk now, maybe. So, to me, CG also has the advantage that we saw them really recently, and it kind of affected people's perceptions of them, it feels like, as well.
Yeah, definitely. Did see them take a loss. Saw both of these teams take losses pretty recently as we came in towards the end. Lotus Exiles playing up against Peach Cats, and then Clown Gaming losing out in that first place matchup that we figured last week, or that we featured last week, up against Gentle Hearts Gaming, where Gentle Hearts were able to take that in a very close 2-1 manner and end it up with the side of Clown Gaming coming out on top. Yeah. All right. As we are going to be getting in. Oh, we are going to be getting into draft in just a couple of moments. We're going to throw it to a quick break here, but we are going to be back in just a couple of seconds to check on out Clown Gaming getting into Lotus Exiles into the draft. Welcome back, everybody. TDS gonna take a second to complete his recovery, having a couple of throat issues over there, but we are already getting into the draft for game number 1. Lotus Exiles gonna be on the blue. Clown Gaming with the side selection, opting to go to the red side. So following that pattern that we've seen over at the World Championship as well, of trying to get themselves that counter pick and securing 2 of the most powerful champions in that first round rather than just one of them. Lotus Exiles, seeing that Jax is available, has been a favorite of Lawrence. They do decide that they're instead going to prioritize that Senna in the bot lane. That's going to be super powerful for City Witty and Rovex. It's also been a favorite, like I said earlier, of Cryogen's. So they're going to make sure that that's going to be off the table for him. It's now going to be a Hover of the Rel. That's been the other favorite of the Clown Gaming bot lane. And of course, could still be that flex over to jungle for Excelsis. It's not a swap that we've seen Clown Gaming make so far. That doesn't mean that it's not something they've been preparing and that they have in the tank for when it comes time to show a little bit more. But looking at the Sejuani Renekton now, Clown Gaming want to try to play around the top side, want to set up Boil the Oil for success. That Jax, the other pick you have to keep your eyes on, that has been a favorite of Lawrence on Lotus Exiles all season long. And if Clown Gaming don't take it for themselves here, they can expect that they're going to see it up against them on the other side. Renekton going to be the lock-in, choosing to value that early game power and that synergy with the Sejuani over the individual power that the Jax brings. And immediately the Lotus Exiles are going to start hovering it. If they don't take it in this rotation, you should expect that it'll be banned away by Clown Gaming once it gets back on over towards their side. Taking on down now is expect them to take a look at the Jax and to potentially be looking for what they're going to pair up with that Senna in the bottom lane. Like we said earlier, Clown Gaming, they've been a team that have gone for a lot of different interesting pairings with the Senna. The Tom Kench, of course, would be the assumed default. Is now Ivern going to be the lock-in for Lotus Exiles on blue? They're going to blind that. Presumably for the jungle, Shorter Ace has played it just once. Is now going to be playing it for the second time here in their first playoff match. The Pike going to get locked in by Cryogen. That's a pick we haven't seen from him so far, but putting a lot of responsibility in the hands of their young support are Clown Gaming, as they want to make sure that they're going to have the ability to reset across fights and that they're going to have a lot of threat onto the back line. I do see TDS rejoining us. You feeling better, man?
Yeah, I should be better now. Drank a lot of water, took a bit on my throat. I'll try and not talk a lot, just in case, but looking quickly at the draft, great that Lotus stole the Senna off of Clown Gaming. Oh no.
Oh no. All right, well, we'll work on that as we are going to see mid continuing to get banned away by Clown Gaming, and now the Kaisa going to be the hover, or the ban already, for the side of Lotus Exiles. Looking on around now for what the second ban is going to be there. Looking at that LeBlanc thus far. Now Clown Gaming going to have that R4. Gotta have to blind at least one more selection. Assuming that everything is going where we expect it to. Now, I expect to see an 80 carry locked in here. The Callista going to be the hover of choice. We are going to see if that's going to be the marksman that they want to pair up with this Pyke. That would be a very aggressive bottom lane duo for the side of Clown Gaming. Varus going to be the lock in here as they take it into the bottom lane. Now for the side of Lotus Exiles, what do they want to pair on up with their Senna, and what do they want to take in the mid lane? Counter pick being given on over to Debonair. They want to make sure that he gets the last say in the draft, that he gets the option to go for whatever he feels is most powerful. Aurelion Soul Hover feels like a little bit of a troll, I'm going to be honest. I don't expect to see it locked in. Hovering over onto the Azir now, that is going to be the lock-in for Dark Wings. A classic Dark Wings pick, and that is going to be the first champion that Dark Wings has played more than once so far in this full season of the Aegis Champions League. He's played 8 games so far where he hasn't had a substitute in, has played a different champion in every single one up until now. This will be his second game of Azir. And there's the Rengar. The Rengar going to be locked in to some inherent synergy with the Ivern there. I think that's going to be City Witty's Rengar in the bottom lane for a Rengar-Senna duo with Ivern in the jungle for shorter Ace. So really going absolutely crazy here in game number 1. Lotus Exiles bringing out something very off the wall to try to get themselves that advantage. This is not the first time they've played it. They have played Rengar-Senna bot lane in the regular season, and now looking to try to run that one back alongside the Ivern in the jungle. The Yone now going to be the final pick for Debonair in the mid lane. He's going to take that into the Azir and look to be that strong carry force coming out of mid. There's going to be rounding out the full draft there. So feels like a lot of early game power coming in for Clown Gaming. That Varus in the bot lane, didn't get to talk about it too much, but going to be an aggressive duo alongside the Pyke. They were considering the Callista as well, decided they wanted that little bit of additional range, that little bit of additional poke power. And it's going to be very interesting to see how that interacts with the Senna Rengar bot lane, who are going to be looking to play super aggressively in their own right, but also had that scaling power in the form of the Senna. All right, TDS still grinding on that water. So we got ourselves a little bit of time here before we get into the in-client draft. Looking on over towards the rest of the Lotus comp, they've got that split push threat in the Jax. He's just going to become stronger than the Renekton as the game goes longer. And the Azir going to have that really powerful scaling out of the mid lane as well, if he's going to be able to be successful up against that Yone and be able to avoid all the pressure that's going to be coming in from that Sejuani in the jungle.
I think maybe now I can finally talk.
Fingers crossed,
Gordo,
baby.
as always, carrying the broadcast. Really easy for him because he's one of the best casters out there. And just quickly, without trying to make as much comments as possible, just in case I die once again, looking like a really interesting draft by Lotus, particularly because in the first game they are opting into trying to throw as many curveballs as possible. The Ivern Rengar, I think, one of the choices where if they are able to make it work out in the bot lane, they can certainly carry out through there.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, going to be interesting to see how that ends up working out, as they are going to be grinding out as much farm as they could get in that bottom lane. It's going to be pretty tough for them to secure it in the first couple of levels, you would think, for that Rengar, as they're just going to be under constant threat from that Varus with the poke damage, the hail of arrows, and the piercing shot going to come on through to try to knock them as low as possible. And then the threat of getting hooked in by Harpoon from Pyke, and also always potentially snag a Rengar even outside of that jump, pull him out of position, and maybe look for either an early kill or at least a favorable enough trade that Clown Gaming's bot lane just starts to snowball with it.
Interestingly, double assassin bot lane. Pyke and Rengar, technically, 2 assassins going at each other in the bot lane, which is kind of fun to see. I'm also curious if it will be Varus with the poke version instead of attack speed, just because when you look at Lotus composition, quite a lot of squishies. Like even Jax and Ivern technically are kind of squishies themselves, so you can make the most out of the poke if you opt into that, and the consistent damage from the Yone and the Renekton are not going to be bad choices to try and play around with.
No, not bad choices at all there. And Yeah, the double melee plus Sejuani, a really powerful kind of selection that they've got there for Clown Gaming to really try to set these solo lanes up for as much success as possible. And Exiles has kind of been the engine through which this whole team runs throughout most of the season already. He's got his choice of gank to focus on towards this game, as you know, you got a melee and a relatively immobile duo in the bottom lane that you can go and try to visit, but you've also got these 2 melee lanes to play through and try to set up for success as well. So he's got his choice where he wants to go and focus on in this game, and it doesn't feel like he can really make a wrong one.
I'm also curious how much will they just let the top lane be, because we've seen a lot of times where Boyle is just left on the island, and more times than less, he performs really, really well. Like, Boyle is one of those consistent top laners where he legitimately feels like a rock, and he doesn't end away the game for your team.
Absolutely here. So, going to be looking on into the in-client draft as they are now into the spectator delay. So, we'll be getting on to the Rift in just about 2 more minutes here. Keep those fingers crossed for no in-game pauses. But I really want to highlight the mid lane matchup. I feel like that's where a lot of this game is going to turn, right? We know that you could be such a good gank enabler with that Azir, especially up against melees. You just keep on poking them low, whittling away at them with the soldiers over the course of the entire lane, and then eventually shuffle in, get them back with the Emperor's Divide, set up for your jungler to be able to make something happen. And after level 6, you're going to have potentially Rengar with On the Hunt coming on in to get and join up with that. So, or Thrill of the Hunt, I think it is, as he just looks to try to put them down. On the Hunt is Sivir Ultimate, so
oh wait, really?
It's got to be something different. Either way, Clown Gaming, Debonair in the mid lane with the Yone, also going to potentially be able to swing that the other way around, right? If he can build himself up an advantage over the Azir, he's got a lot of autonomy to try to play with that Soul Unbound, and he's got a great jungler as well to try to enable those ganks. So whichever one of these guys can get ahead, they're going to be able to snowball that lead to their side lanes, and both of the side lanes for both teams really have a chance.
I'm just kind of curious to wait. I'm just kind of curious to wait and see if the Ivern just sends the bushes inside of the mid lane, and then the Rengar just comes in from the side of the bush. Because what you can do with the mid lane particularly is that you set up the bushes close to the main 2 bushes on the side, and then you just leave 1 or 2 on the side apart from the main ones, and then the Rengar comes in from out of nowhere and then blows you up. That's something that you can actually do and try to accomplish if the Ivern and the Rengar can play it together really, really well. So hopefully we can see Lotus play around that fact really effectively, especially to shut down the mid lane matchup, because like you're pointing out, I think Debonair is one of those players that maybe doesn't outshine or shine a lot like Seven Cryogen, but I think that if you shut him down, you can put a lot of pressure onto what Clown Gaming wants to try and accomplish.
Absolutely here. So going to be checking out what our selections are across the board. The Hail of the Blades of the Varus really stands out to me, as it signals that it could be some kind of lethality Varus, something really focused on early game performances in the in that bottom lane, trying to make sure that trades go in their favor, and maybe not so concerned with that hyper late game. And I think that makes a lot of sense. You don't necessarily need to go for that traditional 80 carry build or that on hit build when you're up against this kind of Lotus Exiles comp. Probably not going to get too much time to fire away anyway. So going to be really curious to see how that ends up paying off for the Clown Gaming roster. It does feel, though, like it's indexing even harder into this early game with the composition they've been able to draft for themselves.
Exactly, and I think they have to pressure as much as possible in the early stages, because theoretically thinking about what the composition may look like, their power spike at 2 items is going to be massive with multiple of these carries. But if they go over that line, obviously Azir, Senna, even the Jax becomes such a big menace post 3 items that I don't think Lotus will have a difficult affair trying to close out the game after that point. So Cloud need to be really good around their 2 item mark, and they also need to be really good about their objective timings, because with their composition they can try and control early dragons and early heralds, and if they control those and try and force a really early soul fight, that way they can also try and put pressure onto what Lotus wants to accomplish all around the map and just put a close to the game as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Here, as I hear Summoner's Rift noises in the background, hopefully we'll be able to transition in here before too long. But We've talked about these teams plenty here, but let's talk a little bit about the stakes as we can look on to the playoff bracket and see these guys are over in that quadrant D, or quadrant C actually is where they find themselves. No, I was right. It is quadrant D. So they find themselves in the quadrant alongside Winthrop University and University of California, San Diego. That match was played earlier today. Winthrop University taking it in 2-0 fashion.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, not necessarily unexpected, but they're looking like the big powerhouse seed 1 group in the quadrant. Winner of this is going to be playing up against them next week. The loser of this will drop to the lower bracket. Remember, this is a 16-team double elim bracket, so nobody going home today, but you definitely do not want to get knocked down right here in week 1, because it is going to be a long climb to that grand finals if you have to do it through the losers bracket. With that said, we are on to the Rift for game number 1, transitioning out of the Rift now for Lotus Exiles taking on Clown Gaming.
And it looks like it's going to start with a level 1 from Clown Gaming. One of the teams that I feel like we've seen be willing to experiment with those level 1s, try and look for certain picks that can work out really well for them. And they also have a hook champion, so it is bound to work out really well. And I don't think neither the Senna nor the Rengar are expecting this to come out. Okay, they warded out really well there.
Yep, gonna get spotted on out. Playing this as though it's a Heimerdinger support, right? And I kind of get it. Rengar's the same deal. If he sneaks into your closer bot lane brush before level 1 and gets to just get a sweet trade off of it, probably ends up being a really problematic state for Zev and Cryogen. So no surprise here. They all rush bot lane at level 1, make sure to clear out the vision, and make sure that they have a position to hold down here. As I didn't even realize this in pregame TDS, it's a double of Hail Blades for Zev and Cryogen.
They are looking to kill. And you know what? I'm all in for that. Just going for the kill. They took the ward down. They are not expecting the counter. And it's a lot of damage onto this Rengar to start it off.
Yeah, great start here from Cryogen. And there's going to be the flash away from City. And great threat here as he's going to have to hide out underneath the turret. The hook back in onto Rovex. And Zev going to get a great trade there as well.
And this is why we've been hyping up the support AD carry from Clown Gaming. Yes, it was a level 1 where they didn't expect it all, but so far, 3 hooks to connected and already 3 summoners blown out of the Lotus Exiles bot lane. And this is a power point that we were expecting to see try and be played around with by the Ivern, which, technically speaking, it's coming down, but Rovex has to flash again. Can they actually make a gank happen?
Flash is blown from both bot laners from Lotus Exiles, but here comes Shorter Ace to try to turn the play back around. He's already level 2 here, throws down the shield onto City, tons of damage onto Cryogen, who has to flash back to safety. Zev, though, still sitting pretty down here, going to look to keep the fight going. That piercing darkness, though, going to do the best that Rovex can to keep himself and City topped off.
The problem is that I'm pretty sure now that as soon as Cryogen hits level 2, that doesn't work again. Because even without the flash, the Pyke is actually quite safe as long as he doesn't commit weirdly his E. So I think they can make this work out, and Excelsis was coming for a gang. I don't think they spotted the Sejuani just yet.
Not quite yet. Will get spotted coming into the bush. They see him now, but slow landed onto City. Good dodge away from the arrow, but the flash in from Excelsis will be enough. First blood to Clown Gaming in the bot lane.
Really good execution there. They didn't spot Excelsis as soon as he was coming down to the bot lane, but still they waited for their opportunity, quick flash, and they are able to execute on the gang. They are not going to spot the Ivern here, and it's going to be the red buff stolen. But I think overall, the fact that you trade red buff for the first blood onto the barriers without blowing the barriers' flash, I think it's much more of a important victory for Clown Gaming, and this also means complete control over the bot side, something that we were talking about for trying to collect those early objectives to try and get us control of the game as soon as possible.
Well, the oil coming back on in. Lawrence has been proxy farming in that top lane, seeing that Excelsis is committing resources to the bottom, looking to build as much of a lead over this Renekton as he can. But he's used his whole mana pool so far, and now Shorter Ace has kind of left him alone up there. Shorter Ace was able to steal away the red buff, but since then has had to vacate and get back to his side of the map.
Also down there, the Rengar just trying to act like a jungler for a little bit, taking away the Scuttle Crab, gaining control over the river, and actually going to put a bit of pressure onto the bot side because now they don't have complete control to try and protect Zev and Cryogen. That being said, they are still really fine. The Barris and the Pike are in a really good spot, and the Ignite is coming up really soon. I can see them trying to force once again onto the bot lane from Lotus Exiles.
Yeah, and I really like what we've gotten to see out of Cryogen, right? This is the first game we've gotten to see out of him on the Pike, and so far has been very accurate with these hooks, has been able to keep himself safe, making the most out of that gray health passive. So far, looking very good. Is setting up for a potential dive here, a big wave crashing in. Debonair chunked a little bit low by Dark Wings. Gonna look to force for this CS though. This is dangerous for Debonair. Gets a nice knock up onto Dark Wings and will be able to snap back, as here's going to be the fight breaking out in the bottom lane. City forced underneath the turret. Hook landed onto him. They're going to get a little bit more poke, but here comes Shorter Ace over the wall with the thorns. Look to jump on in, but getting turned around on and blown up by Zev. Now it's all up to City. He's going to pick up one kill, but following up is Cryogen and Zev looking to take the dive, but they don't want to tank too many shots for this, and the wave just might be what saves City's life.
Yeah, Ro16 actually being able to fight back against Zev really, really well. They still have the heal, so it's not like it's impossible for Zev to just be comfortable trying to escape, but it's a 1-for-1 at the end of the day. Both Youngers end up dying, they get kills onto the carry, so in general a pretty equal trade. It's still just a slight bit of gold lead for Clown Gaming, but overall a lot of fighting for this bot side, and it's been really, really fun seeing how it performs. As we see the Ivern coming in once again, they really want to try and pile drive as much as possible this bot lane.
Yeah, Shorter Ace will not leave this B. You definitely cannot leave your Rengar lane down a kill. And that's going to force Excelsis down here as well. Kind of just giving Lawrence the run of the top lane so far. He has continued to just play as hard in the paint as he can up there, consistently proxy farming waves. And with Excelsis showing bot, I mean, there's just no chance for anybody to really stop him.
But this was kind of the thing we were expecting to see coming in from Clown Gaming to a certain degree. We weren't really expecting to see Boyle get much attention up there in the top lane, but it's kind of surprising to see Lotus commit to the similar playstyle. And to a certain degree, it's working out since Rengar technically did get a kill. And the Jax is doing really well against the Renekton by himself. It's not like it's mattering that much. But the fact of the matter is that they are not finding big victories by committing to this sort of playstyle. Whereas Clown Gaming, yes, they are not finding big victories either, but their game plan is around the first to second item mark. Not really around the super early aggressive game, but more so when they reach level 6 and they can fight.
Definitely. Here's the jump back on in. Boil the Oil at a little bit of a level advantage here. Trox the Conqueror and is going to look for a big trade. Nicely played up against Lawrence, and finally finding a little bit of space to strike back on the Croc after a rough early game. Hook back in onto City, but the damage just not presenting itself quite hard enough. There's the Battle Cry to come back on up, but a flash away from Lawrence. Flash after by Boil the Oil as he's going to pick himself up a solo kill. Lawrence playing with fire and gets burned.
And this is why you leave Boyle by himself. It works out each and every time. Ro16 gets picked, but I don't think they have enough to kill them.
4v3 in favor of Lotus, but both bot laners incredibly low. Hook going to come through. There's the pushback from Dark Wings, but they can't quite finish off Cryogen. Here come the soldiers. One more flash going to do it for Dark Wings. They take down Zev on the other side. Shut down gold to City Witty, and Lotus Exiles equalize.
Yeah, Zev thought he could actually outplay the situation there, but really well played by the side of Lotus Exiles. Quick move to the bot side, and they take advantage of Debonair not being able to push the wave fast enough. Really good play. They collect quite a bit of gold, and once again, Rengar benefiting so much off of these small skirmishes that turn into multiple kills for them. Yes, the bot lane is doing well for them, but if you put enough members down there, they are going to end up losing. So even though Boyle collects a really nice solo kill up there in the top lane, it's not going to be the overall victory for the side of Clown Gaming, and maybe we see more fighting here. Oh, wait, Lawrence,
so it's time to focus top lane instead, and Lawrence finds himself caught once again. Fate Sealed not going to connect from Debonair, and that leaves Excelsis out to dry. Out of the bushes comes City Witty to take down one, but Debonair has killed two on the other side, and he's looking to make it three. So a triple kill to Debonair, pushing Lotus Exiles out of the top lane skirmish as he goes in for the recall.
Once again, Vevener is so good. That was so well played by the Yone. He actually failed the Fate's seal, but it didn't matter. He came in with 2 knockups that immediately changed the course of the fight. And I love the decision making there by Clown Gaming, and it's something that we've seen so consistently so far this season. It's them taking quick decisions that turn from their initial decision into the other one really quickly. And that's sort of immediate change from each of the members, the fact that everyone follows onto that decision super quickly. It's so good to see and shows the cohesiveness from the team. This is why Clown Gaming has been looking so good so far.
Absolutely, and it hits 8 minutes. Rift Herald spawns. There's now a reason to look at a part of the map that isn't bot lane, and Lotus Exiles' game plan just falls apart. They have to send multiple members up there, but in an equal numbered fight, the Rengar's just not able to get strong enough, not able to reset, not able to find any kills other than the one, and Debonair cleans up big time now with a massive advantage in that mid lane. Lotus Exiles, they just head right back to the scene of the crime. They're going to start off the Rift Herald, and it looks like they're going to be able to secure it. Clown Gaming do not want to fight this without cooldowns.
Exactly. In the meanwhile, they decide to take a bit of the safer approach. They take, instead of trying to once again into the Herald, they wait a bit more. And importantly also, I think it's because Boil the Oil backing to Aegis gets the core drinker here. I think they probably want to have Boil the Oil be as strong by himself instead of trying to force a weird fight down up there in the Herald, and instead just wait and try and maybe fight for this dragon.
That is going to be the game plan here. Look at how far back Zev plays every time Cryogen's not in the lane with him. You have to give a level of respect to this Rengar, and it's such a strange off-meta pick that you don't have to deal with that often. Props to him for at least paying it the respect that it deserves and not ending up caught out for something silly.
Well, I'm pretty sure that even if it's an off-meta pick, I'm pretty sure that he's played against a Rengar once or twice, and as an AD carry, you probably never want to be alone by yourself against a Rengar.
Yeah, you only make that mistake so many times, or you make that mistake every time, and you don't get to this level of play. I think that's an option that I take every time. So, you know, we'll see. Definitely a little bit more skill coming in through from Zev here, though, is Boil the Oil getting ganked now, starting the fight up against Lawrence, gets a lot of damage on in the front end, but despite the level lead, it's not going to be enough to collapse the numbers disadvantage. Boil the Oil goes down, Lawrence able to pick up the kill.
Yeah, the CC chain actually so well played, and I think Boyle didn't use the Gore Drinker for this fight. Ends up mattering a bit for how it goes. Teleport from the unit, they don't know that they are coming here. Yeah, they have the members.
Oh, Fate sealed over the wall, and already so strong is Debonair, but not able to get the job done. There's going to be that trigger seed keeping him safe for now, but caught between a rock and a hard place and a wall. A little bit of a three-way collapse coming on through there. Debonair flashes just to secure himself the rampage. Maybe didn't mean to use that many resources, but he'll be happy to pick up the kill nonetheless.
Yeah, they didn't estimate their damage enough to be able to take the kill there, and actually having to force a bit more on it. As we see the Rengar just being able to escape pretty easily. Not much accomplished, but it's fun to see how the bot lane goes. That being said, though, not having the flash now on Debonair can be a scary thing, especially looking into the mid lane, because not only does Darkwings gets his flash really soon, but they have the Emperor's Divide. So they can try and force the shuffle for the Yone back into the lane, and maybe try and force the kill really easily.
That's going to be the game plan. Pushing back out in this bottom lane. Still keeping up very nicely in CS, I must say, is City Witty. Only down about a wave. And plenty of souls still going on over to Ro16 as well. Not being set back in that department at all by having a melee bot laner alongside you that maybe doesn't quite have the sustained power that something like a Tom Kench would.
But it still kind of has self-sustained, right? With the W, you can just pretty much get away from things by yourself without having to worry about anyone protecting you, which does work out quite well. I don't think they are going to be able to get this turret just yet, but leaving the mid lane turret this week can be a good advantage to try and force later on into a dragon fight. Also, weirdly enough, we haven't seen dragon focus from Clown Gaming. They have had bot lane push a lot of the times, but they never push the issue for the dragon, and it's been 13 minutes. At this point, collecting the first dragon feels kind of weird because you kind of want to collect it, but it's not going to be as meaningful as that first Herald.
Ooh, hook back in, landed onto City. They throw out Chains of Corruption. They do not connect. That roar Battle Roar coming out of City Witty has just been enough to sustain through the damage, to escape from the threats, and not really end up going down in these 2-on-2s. But still, they feel they've got enough power, especially held in Debonair's hands, to be able to go and pick up the first dragon. Very late for Clown Gaming. Going to be a long time before Soul is on the table, but the first one will go over to their side.
It's looking like the second one is going to be the Hextech or the Chemtech, which means that we may get an actually good Soul for it, but it's going to be a dive onto Boyle, and I actually think they can pull this off, not gonna lie. I think it's just a waste of
dying very fast here. Now there's no Daisy. They're calling up 2 more members, though. Those will replace Daisy, as there's going to be City getting picked up a little bit here, but going to clinch away. Now going to have to flash out. Manages to survive. Once again, it's the Battle Roar, but Debonair goes for it all. Will go down to the turret. That's shut down gold back to City Witty.
Yeah, it's a shutdown. I don't think it's worth.
Oh, he's flashing it. He's going for it all. Comes back up with the Gore Drinker. Will go down, though. And Lawrence evades the last turret shot. Lotus Exiles pull up the dive at the top lane. They're going to take the turret, and they're starting to build themselves up a lead in the game.
It's going to be a 1-for-1 in turrets, though. Well, actually, 2-for-1. They took the bot lane turret, they took the kill into the Rengar, so it's a 1-for-1 in terms of kills, plus the Debonair death as well. But getting 2 turrets in the process actually really, really good for Clown Gaming. Interestingly, though, I'm not against the play that Boyle went for. Yes, it may look weird when he flashed in with the Gore Drinker, but if when he got the stun into Lawrence, if they take one more auto attack to try and kill the Renekton there, that probably means someone else is either dying or they are taking way too much damage, and that can save up for someone else. So overall, not against the decision making.
Absolutely. Here is checking on out the plates. Dead even, but allocated differently. A lot of those plates going on over to Zev in the bottom lane for the side of Clown Gaming. Meanwhile, for Lotus Exiles, it's all been on to Dark Wings. Digging the new name, by the way, Dark Wingdom, coming on through for Dark Wings here, and definitely has looked a little bit like that, at least in the laning phase. Debonair, though, has been able to get out on the map, has been able to clean up kills, and probably finds himself at a gold advantage for all of that.
Yeah, actually, I think both mid laners so far are doing a really good job, both in lane and out of lane, because they've been trying to look for plays almost everywhere, but also trying to make themselves be valuable for the team in trying to collecting gold. So overall, really like what we've seen so far from them. As we see the Daisy, it's going to die again, right? It's going to die again, I think.
Yeah, spawned, hooked in, choked to half, and now fleeing. There's going to be City Witty fishing for a little bit of damage wherever he can. Lands the Bola snare. There goes the Glacial Prison. Doesn't connect. The last hook from Cryogen misses as well. But Fate Sealed will connect. And Fate Sealed is all Clown Gaming need. 2 kills already picked up as Lawrence has teleported himself into a hell of a position here. Deep behind the enemy team. Hooked back away by Cryogen. Stunned by the Phantom Undertow. Follow-up coming through. But Dark Wings wants to carry the fight. He launches in, but he gets taken down by the death from below. As they're going to move forward onto Lawrence. Lotus Exiles disjointed in this fight as Clown Gaming take them down 1 by 1. But Zev falling down means that this has got to end here, or Cryogen's going to go down as well. It's a double kill to Lawrence, but it's not over yet. It's a teleport back in from Boyle the Oil is going to keep the fight alive.
Yeah, they are still trying to kill Shorter Days here, and I think they are more than likely going to get it. Lawrence survives, which I think it's good. At the very least, they give it to Debonair more than okay, yeah, it's Boyle. But they get quite a good amount of kills. Really weird sequence of events if you ask me, because that fight could have gone completely south for either side. It's technically a win at the end for Clown Gaming, and they get so much value out of it because Dark Wings ends up committing there, dies really quickly. So Lawrence teleports in. He doesn't die, but he has to commit the flash to try and escape. And now looking for repositioning. It's once again potentially another fight for this next Herald, but we need to look into the important cooldowns that are up and that are down. Oh, Lawrence
feeling strong after that last couple set of kills, going to brawl up with Boyle the Oil here. Going to end up pretty even for it. Debonair looking to get involved to make it a little bit less fair of a fight. They're going to start off this Rift Herald. Shorter Ace just respawned, but should be able to get here in time to contest if he so desires.
Resets.
A full 5-on-5 potentially breaking out over this Rift Herald if Lotus decide to come and contest.
Steven's in such a bad spot. He's by himself.
He's going to get hooked back. They're going to try to focus down City. Fate Seal connects. Cryogen resets. Now they're going to land the Glacial Fissure. It's going to be a jump away from Shorter Ace. He manages to stay alive, but so many low health bars on the Clown Gaming roster. I think they were able to secure the Rift Herald, but what about the rest of them? As there's going to be the hook on towards them from the side of that Root Caller. They will go down, though. Debonair is able to pick up that kill to dive back on through, but Exiles is going to get melted down by Dark Wings. Another 1-for-1 takes place as they dive further in the jungle, and Lotus on lower numbers, hooked again by Cryogen. Clown Gaming, they get their winnings and they get out, but they do not have the Rift Herald. That one went over to Lawrence.
Yeah, they got the Rip Herald at the end. Lawrence fighting against Debonair and the Herald to try and see who collects it. Ends up being secured by the side of Lotus, so they will get the bigger price, technically, but the kills do go in favor of Clown Gaming. Debonair is 7-1, by the way. He has his eye completed. This is a really, really scary Yone looking into the potential next Dragon fight, as well as Seth has his second item, so this is one of the strongest points we can see Clown Gaming all game long.
They saved R5 counter pick for Debonair in the mid lane, and he is rewarding them for it. A fantastic performance so far in this game, number one, and holding a huge amount of the 3K gold lead of the Clowns in his pockets here. Going to be setting up now for this follow-up Dragon play. It's going to be the Hextech Drake. Still not even determining what the soul is going to be, so not an objective that either team is focusing on too heavily. But now might be the time, as hunting around is City Witty, looking for a target to jump onto.
They have the Herald as well bot side, and they are prepping themselves to try and look for a kill. They miss out on the Rengar ultimate, but with the bushes, it's not like it matters that much.
Celsius getting chunked a little bit low. City Witty just breaking all the rules of the game here, playing up in the faces of the Clowns. But here's going to be the all-in Fate Sealed onto 2 from Debonair, and 1 is going to drop. It's Shorter Ace off the map as Lawrence is deep behind enemy lines, but trying to turn it back around onto this Fed Yoni. Picks up the shutdown, and City Witty still escaping on the other side. Will finally get taken down by Boil the Oil, but it's been routed for Lotus Exiles. They dive further, take down Boil the Oil. Dark Wings cleaning up the rest. Cryogen gonna be able to get him back, but it's a 4-for-3. Lotus Exiles win the fight.
Exactly. Lotus ends up with the victory. It's only the lonely Cryogen still alive for the rest of the team. But overall, what a fight. It started so well for Clown Gaming with a great engage coming in from Debonair on the side, getting multiple knockups into the ultimate really, really well. But you have to give so much credit there to how Lawrence and City played that fight, because they jumped into the targets that felt a bit weak. They were able to go into the side and separate a lot of the tension from the side of Clown Gaming. And then also, Ro16 actually dealing quite a lot of damage onto the barriers by himself. Ends up just making it so that Seth cannot join any sort of fight. They are way too disjointed, and the fight at the end able to be played much better by Lotus.
Lotus starting to look better and better as they get into these later game fights. Dark Wings is scaled up on 2 items, but they're going to look to collapse on him here. Throwing out the harpoon does not connect. Clown Gaming, 5 members strong, grouped up around this jungle. Debonair lurking around the blue buff. City Witty just continues to throw himself in there. Gonna get hooked back in. They're gonna try to burst him, but they don't really have the damage to deal with this Rengar. City Witty continuing to push back the Clown Gaming roster nearly single-handedly.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't feel like it's only the Rengar, it's also the fact that the Ivern gives so many shields, so tanky. They become so tanky because of the incoming shield and healing from both the Ivern and the Senna, and it's just way too difficult for them to actually stop them from trying to get them. And now the Dragon is going to be the Ocean, so this is so good for them. Lawrence
Debonair caught a little bit too deep. He's got the backup of his team, goes in for the Fate Seal, lands it onto 2, but he can't snap back. He's on the wrong side of the map, and he will drop to Lawrence. Here comes the piercing darkness through the rest of the team, and Dark Wings is going to finish off Zev. Clown Gaming now with no carries, with Renekton on the other side of the map. They are going to lose some structures.
Yeah, they may have had such a good start for Clown Gaming, but it doesn't matter because at this point in the game, Lotus are just way stronger than them. They have the heals, they have the shields, and they have the damage on their carries. So far, it's looking really good for Lotus Exiles, and now the question is, can they try and get the lead to close out the game? It's looking like they can try and go for Baron if they want to. They can go for the next Dragon if they want to, because they are going to become stronger. And Clown Gaming, the answers are becoming less and less apparent.
Definitely true here. We have a moment of peace, TDS. We have to talk about the Abyssal Mask Rengar. It's
true.
Going for the tank, pseudo tank build here is City Witty. I mean, he looks unkillable in these fights. He's just stepping up in the faces, has those continuous trigger seeds on top of him, keeping him healed up, keeping him at full HP. And then the Gore Drinker plus, I guess, the tank stats coming in from Abyssal Mask are just keeping him alive no matter what happens, as he finds another angle on a Cryogen, rooted up, shuffled back, taken down. Lotus Exiles find another.
And they go for Darkwings here on the side. They actually get it. Darkwings ends up dying. Really nice collapse coming in by both Debonair and Excelsis, taking down the biggest damage dealer on the side of Lotus Exiles, and now maybe trying to get another kill on the side. At the very least, killing Daisy.
Yeah, there's going to be a huge fate sealed from Debonair. Lands it onto 3. City Witty might be tanky, but he cannot survive single-handedly. Clown Gaming pick up 3, and they're going to turn it into Baron.
That was so well played by Debonair. Huge props to Debonair and Excelsis as well. They locked down the pick onto Darkwings to start it up, and then the huge play by Debonair. You called it, Gordo. 5th pick, Yone. Counter pick to the Asir for a reason, and Debonair is performing like he needed to. So far, so good for the Yone. 9-3-9, and with this Baron buff, a turning point for the side of Clown Gaming, especially looking into the dragons that are going to be spawning soon in the future. It's crucial that they get this objective.
Absolutely beautiful play there from Debonair, going to net Clown Gaming a little bit of breath back in this game. It was looking like they were out of options, but they managed to secure a big fight, a big objective, and now they have themselves a fighting chance, and it's all on the back of Debonair time and time again.
It really feels like that, but namely so, and this is something we were talking about with looking at the rosters, right? It's that maybe the shine, or the ones that were shining the most, were the bot lane. Seb, Lawrence is staying here. Seb is on the side. I'm kind of scared that they tried to kill the Varus, but it's not looking like that. It's Boyle that he's by himself here. There's no one else though, actually.
Yeah, Lawrence should be strong enough at this point to take the fight, and oh boy is he, just brawling with the Renekton, taking him to half HP already. Dominus not going to be enough. Lawrence with a solo kill.
Yeah, you say he should be strong enough? No, he's 100% strong enough to take it. Destroys, spoil the oil, and the Renekton also blows the flash. That means that he will not have the flash for the future fight, stops the momentum from the Baron buff. For the side of Lotus, this is such an important moment, because that way they can try and not lose control of the game. But Clown Gaming still has the Baron buff, still has a bit of control, and can try and look proactively for some more plays all around the map.
And unsung all game long, Lawrence has scaled, and Lawrence is starting to look super dangerous on this Jax. It's been such a high prio pick all season long for the Lotus Exiles. They get it in their first playoff match, and they are looking real good on it so far. Zev moving down into this bottom lane alongside Excelsis and Cryogen.
Oh.
They want to set up for this next dragon, presumably. Again, Soul forever away, but the fight going to be for it anyways. Cryogen lands the hook on a Rovex. Rovex gonna flash away. Beat Seal doesn't connect on anybody, and that's so important for Clown Gaming. They should just back out here. Lawrence is behind them. City Witty diving forward. Cryogen still looking for a hook. Misses it on a Rovex. Excelsis is so low. The dive onto Debonair. Debonair is down, and Lawrence is running amok on the back line. Lotus Exiles are looking for a complete wipe of the Clowns, and they just might find it as City flashes in for Cryogen, out of the bush, onto the support, taking him down for the ace. Lotus Exiles are looking to win game number 1.
They find the right team fight, and it's going to be potentially the last team fight of the game, with Lotus Exiles looking to try and close out the first game of the series. coming into play with our super out of the ordinary draft with the Rengar, the Senna, and the Ivern, and pulling it off marvelously. Really well played. They waited for the time and they executed on it. And the Clowns have to find an answer looking into game 2, because this game, they had good ideas, but it wasn't the best. Not at the very least to what we've seen from the Clowns so far.
Not at all. 45 kills in 28 minutes, TDS. A real kill-heavy game comes through to start on off our playoffs.
Yeah.
It's Lotus Exiles who draw first blood in the series. Like you said, Lotus Exiles coming in with an off-the-wall composition, but paying off for them massively here. Their Rengar just got completely unstoppable with the backup of the Ivern and the Senna, and started to, as the game went on, just take the pressure off of Darkwings and Lawrence to take down everybody on the side of the Clowns.
Yeah, and you can see it on the damage graphs how much Darkwings and Lawrence did in terms of damage. That is essentially more than half of their own team's damage is completely on themselves, and I kind of feel like they did almost the amount of damage that the side of Clown Gaming did. I'm not good at math, so I'm not going to actually do the maths here, but I feel like it's kind of close. And now looking into the second game, it's crucial that this game went so well for the side of Lotus Exiles, because it's not only the victory that they get. Ivern, Rengar, Senna, all three of these champions now in consideration for being banned away, particularly against Clown Gaming, that was one of the teams that played around the Senna pick so well. Now the Senna pretty much becomes a ban for them, and unless they pick the blue side and they are able to secure it for themselves, they are going to need to be conscious of that, and they have to ban it away themselves, especially if they look into a game 3. And the other two champions, the Ivern and the Rengar, also need to be highly considered for themselves.
Absolutely here. So a lot to consider for Clown Gaming as we get into this game number 2. We are going to throw it to a quick break here while we get into draft for our second round between these two teams. This is a best of 3. So we will be back with a second game between Lotus Exiles and Clown Gaming in just a couple of minutes.
Everything goes on.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Aegis Champions League. You can check out right above us. We got our ticker coming in with live scores from the other series. Winthrop University has completed a 2-0 over UCSD. Team Fish Taco taking a 2-1 win over CCG Futures. Those will be our first teams moving on to the next stage of the winners bracket, or the losers will be the ones moving on down to the first round of the lower bracket. Meanwhile, we've got a 1-0 lead for Lotus Exiles in our featured match of the week. Clown Gaming going to need to find something to change up and come back in this game number 2.
Yeah, but so far, just quickly, so far, our predictions looking really good about who we expected to move on from the playoffs. And then looking into this particular series, I think Clown are a team that can play around the sort of weird draft themselves because they are willing to experiment and try to pull the wildcards themselves. But the fact that Lotus also brought it onto their own game and try and mix things up by themselves will make the coming drafts really interestingly. I also think, even though I don't particularly dislike Clown Gaming's draft, I do think that it was really focused on being able to play the power spikes really well. And one particular blunder that I feel like they made during this game is the lack of attention for dragons. We talked about this, right? They have control bot lane because they have the advantage with the Varus and the Pike, and they had such an early advantage as well. But they never used that advantage to try and get control over dragons. They never used that advantage to try and keep control of the objectives as soon as possible. And they were able, on the side of Lotus, to go tit for tat in terms of that sort of advantage that Clown should theoretically have. So if they are going to go for something similar, they have to push the issue much earlier, because if not, their win conditions will get closed out as soon as possible, and they don't have a lot of control in the game because of that.
Absolutely. Here, as we are getting into draft for game number 2, Clown Gaming have opted to move on to the blue side, hoping that that's going to give them a little bit more flexibility in the draft, giving them the power to make a first selection on something like that Senna, because I'm going to be honest, yes, I don't think you can ban out everything that Lotus Exiles play that's off the wall. They're not limited to just these Rengar comps. City Witty in particular is a madman in the bot lane. He comes in here from jungle. He is not a native bot laner, and that means he brings a lot of spice to the role. It's the Rengar is not the only thing he has played. He's played some Misfortune this season. He's played some Karthus bot lane this season. He draws switch bans like it's nobody's business. He is willing to play a whole lot of different garbage, and you're just going to have to deal with that if you're Clown Gaming. There's no way you can ban it all.
Yeah, you have to be able to deal with it or deal with it. Actually, there's no or. They have to be able to deal with it looking into the second game. And the things that I feel like they have to focus more on are going to be the Senna and the Ivern. I think Ivern particularly was one of the bigger reasons to trying to make the composition from Lotus work out so well, because they had Lawrence that, even though he didn't do particularly or exceptionally well in the laning phase, he was able to become a really strong menace. And the Ivern was able to keep on shielding and healing and shielding and healing him consistently without allowing the Jax to die. And if they are going to give that sort of opportunity to the side of Lotus, then it's better to just try and take away the Ivern and try and secure themselves something pretty similar. I'm thinking they probably want to look for the Senna themselves and then ban away the Ivern and have the advantage in that area.
Absolutely. Here, as I do see ready ups from both teams, so we are going to be on to the in-client draft, not the in-client draft, the out-of-client draft, the true draft over here in real time, looking to see what Clown Gaming are going to lead off with. They're going to ban away that Jarvan. They still do not want to give it over to the hands of Lotus.
Yeah, I'm banning away pretty much what we expect in the current meta, the Jarvan and the Saya. Pretty known bans coming through. Then I'm expecting to see maybe something like the Rail makes a lot of sense. I was maybe thinking Sejuani as well potentially could go into the ban list. The Jax and the Rumble as well. Kind of interested that we haven't seen much focus towards the top lane in terms of bans. The Jax, like you were mentioning, Lawrence performing really great on it, but it's one of the champions that we expect Lawrence to be performing really great on. So it's kind of surprising to not see him coming through. And then the Orianna that as well has a lot of power in the mid lane, makes sense that they ban it away.
Absolutely here. So going to be the Xayah and the Orianna taken off the board for Lotus. Clown Gaming going to keep on these bans. The new one is the Rel in game number 1. Clown Gaming also banned away the Cassante. They left up the Jarvan. It was banned by Lotus, and then they banned away the Orianna as well. So the Orianna banned away, the Bel'Veth taken. Cassante is up and pro players
Yeah.
love the Cassante on this patch. It's completely ridiculous. And I decided, I've been talking the talk all week. I've been watching Cassante be such high prio in all of these combines and all these matches.
True.
I played some games in Cassante myself this afternoon, and it's busted, dude. It's so ridiculous on this patch. I now believe it more than I believed it before. Usually, when you think a champ's super broken, you go and run it a couple of games, you learn the weaknesses, you figure it out. I played Cassante a couple of games, I learned nothing. I can just ram my face on the keyboard and carry games on that.
You learned it's broken. That's what you learned.
I did. I've confirmed my priors, and now I feel even more confident saying Clown Gaming, excellent first pick there.
Yeah, in reality, I was one of the few non-believers of the Cassante, and I became a believer after watching a bit more of the Cassante, so I'm backing you with that. And it also created this dynamic, Gordo, because with the Cassante being left open, but also the Senna being left open from the ban list, you're going to trade both of these champions. I like that they went for their own broken against broken, because I do think that Senna is broken right now. So if you're going to trade, at the very least, trade equally. And in this sense, I'm all in for what Clown Gaming went for in this situation. Now, what sort of answer are they looking for? They could actually look for the Pike virus bot lane once again, even if it means going against a similar Rengar Ivern. But the fact of the matter is that because they are still, it's just one more pick for Lotus Exiles, they can now in the second rotation ban one of the two. They can ban the Rengar or the Ivern depending on which gets picked, and that way they don't have to deal with the same thing again.
Exactly. There's no chance that Rengar Ivern are getting through this draft. If you pick one, the other is getting off the board very soon. Very interesting that we see this Pike again. It appears that this is Cryogen's answer to the Senna. He just wants to play Pike into Senna lanes if you give him the opportunity to do so. But they're going to pair it with the Kai'Sa this time, deciding, hey, before the AD carry pool gets pinched again, we want to secure ourselves a powerful duo. The Rengar's getting hovered, though. It looks like City might be willing to play this with or without an Ivern.
Yeah, exactly. It's giving up the opportunity just in case they actually do pick up the Ivern or they ban away the Ivern, but there's still a lot of other pairings that you can go for instead of the Rengar. Like even, yeah, I like the Wukong here because it gives you the potential of the flex. They end up opting into the Asir, so not going for it, but I love the Wukong cover. It gives you the flex for the Senna to try and go for the Senna Wukong bot lane or the Wukong into the jungle. That's a thing that used to be played when Senna was trying to be discovered with her pairings, and gave the opportunity to try and maybe mess around with their heads. But it's going to be the Asir. Ban the LeBlanc as well, because they don't want to try and deal with that. And I'm expecting another mid lane ban potentially to come through just to try and pin the mid lane pool as much as possible. I would even think Yone could be a good ban since Devonair played really, really well with it.
Yeah, definitely. I also might be looking towards Debonair's Ahri. That's something that I really associate with him, and a pick that he would probably be willing to take into the Azir. They do ban away the Jace instead. So that's a pick I'm looking at for Clown Gaming as we start to get into the second phase. There goes the Ivern. It is off the board. They do not want to risk that Ivern-Rengar combo again. They don't even care if they give them the Rengar with the Ivern off the board. And now there's that Lee Sin, something that you have to respect out of Shorter Ace. He's a big Lee Sin guy. He would be happy to lock it in if you give him the opportunity to do so. They might choose to take away a different powerful jungler. They take away the Sejuani.
But it's kind of taking away from themselves because they were the ones that played the Sejuani. Ooh. That was going to be baited by
it. I refuse.
Yeah, we did get a bit of a taste of Brand this week. Remember, Gordo, on the combine? And
it was City Witty too. Wasn't it City Witty?
Yeah, it worked out great. So
we watched him play Brand bot lane in the Supernova Combine, Supernova Conviction Combine. So it's something he's been cooking, and I mean he's saving the last. Oh, but you know, I just realized this is Senna Sion. This is the G2 duo.
Yep.
So they're going to be yelling minions at people and trying to snare them. So that's spicy. City Witty and Ro16, two players who have played so much together on so many different teams. You've got to believe that they got that inbuilt synergy. They've practiced a lot of different duos. You're going to need to stay in sync to make something like a Senna Sion work. So going to be putting that synergy to the test here in game number 2. Meanwhile, Clown Gaming, they get themselves a Yone again. Going to run it back on that pick for Debonair. Now hovering the Wukong for Excelsis. And this is looking like a dangerous team fighting comp from Clown Gaming.
Yeah, and the problem is that I don't think, well, I would have loved to see the Wukong 100%. I understand the Poppy's logic here because of the hammer to try and push away either the Jax or the Sion, but the power of the team fight from Cloud Gaming this game is actually so high. They have so many tools to try and execute targets, and if they are able to reach the backline is not surviving long enough, even with the heal, because of the amount of burst that they have. And it's going to be, wait, it's this Morgana jungle, actually.
Wow.
Now that I'm looking into the map.
Yeah.
So it's Morgana jungle. Gordon remembers that I was one of the people that was asking for Morgana to come back to the meta, because right now Black Shield does have a lot of value against multiple targets. That being said, it's more than likely going to be the Black Shield, specifically for the Senna, I would argue, because of the amount of burst damage that can come through onto her and the amount of CC that may come onto her. But if I'm not wrong, it works with the K'Sante ultimate. So this actually makes targeting some of the champions here even harder for the K'Sante.
It definitely does. Yeah, K'Sante definitely reliant on some of that CC connecting to be able to pull off those combos. Will definitely make life very difficult for the Pyke as well. Pyke, one of those champions, the logic always used to be that the Morgana is particularly good up against stuff like Jarvan and Xin Zhao in the jungle, because they don't have ways to break Black Shield, so you're never going to be able to land any of your CC. That logic is like 10 times true over with Pyke, right? Pyke is going to have no means to actually get through that Black Shield, and so his CC is just going to be thwarted at every opportunity. Going to need to rely on
it's pretty much Kai'Sa
right? To get through it. Yeah,
well, actually, Yone has magic damage on his Q. So
Yone does have magic damage. Yeah, he's got it on his passive, so every other auto dealing a little bit of magic damage there. But definitely not a good, reliable way to break Black Shield. So going to be a very powerful selection here for Lotus. The only question is, if it is going into the jungle, how practiced is Shorter Ace on the Morgungle? As it's a pick that's been a little bit buffed up recently, but not one that many folks are willing to index into.
Well, one thing I've learned from multiple years watching pro play is that it's not like players are really adapting to learning new champions immediately. So it may take a while, but maybe Shorter Ace has been practicing the champion here, and they are confident enough that they are trying to pull it off here. They have a lot of they have really good single target CC thanks to Shorter Ace having the Dark Binding, and also team fighting wise, I'm not against what the side of Lotus has, because you can technically flash in as Shorter Ace, get the ultimate on multiple targets, and try and set up with the Counter-Strike, with the Sion ultimate, to set up for your backline to be able to destroy everyone. Overall, the idea is not necessarily bad. It's going to be a bit difficult to execute, but when looking at late game wise, right? The late game from Lotus, once again, looking really, really, really good, with champions that when you reach 3+ items, can carry out the game. It's a lot on the early stages from Cloud Gaming that I'm going to look into, and how the first 2 item power spikes are going to look for them.
Definitely want to let everybody know predictions are live. If you want to go and bid some channel points, try to stack on up, see if you can get, what are the big things you can earn here? 100K for VIP, 20K to time out somebody else. That's a big one for when it comes to be necessary. So go ahead, stack on up those channel points, get yourself a little bit ahead of the game there if you can correctly predict the results of the match. Should be up for a few more seconds while we look to get loaded onto the Rift. As the incline draft is completed, just have to get into that spec delay, give ourselves a couple more minutes until we are going to be watching some more League of Legends action. Ion Gaming, though, I like the draft they've put together. It's got a lot of the strengths they showed in game number 1. Debonair back on the Yone. Definitely looked to be feeling himself on that pick last game, minus a little bit of a scuffed last fight where he ended up missing Fate Sealed, and then boiled the oil on this K'Sante. This is like the highest priority champion on the patch. I'm gonna be honest, I'm shocked that we didn't see it banned away by Lotus Exiles. Definitely with a lot of strength in his hands, but Lawrence back on his Jax again. This has been the pick for Lotus Exiles at the top lane all season long. 6 bans of it against them, 4 picks, now 5 with the addition of that last game. They are going to be happy to just keep on running it here until it stops working, and so far it's been working.
Exactly, and I'm kind of curious if this is because they feel like this is their answer, or the right answer onto the K'Sante, which, technically speaking, it's not necessarily a bad bet, but it works until you realize that maybe the K'Sante just is too strong, and then it completely destroys your team, right? It's something to look into. I'm still convinced, or I've been convinced, that the K'Sante is something that you cannot overlook at all. In multiple amount of games, it has been able to overcome any sort of difficulty that it's been going through and just able to outshine every other champion in the map. So I'm just waiting to see if this plan by Lotus is going to work out, and if it doesn't, it's pretty much a straight ban in the last game and take away the K'Sante from the game as much as possible. But technically speaking, they also will have potentially blue side for the last game, even if they lose here, and the Senna pairings that they've been able to cook have been really, really good. So I'm still interested in seeing how Lotus plays this out, and if they are able to make their counter to the K'Sante as effective as possible.
Dark Harvest on the Morgana, so not going to be quietly farming this game is Shorter Ace, or maybe he just doesn't think anything else is even worth taking, right? I mean, what, you can take Airy and then you get a little bit of a non-magic damage shield on your black shield, but yeah, not too many great options on the Morgana jungle, I suppose. First strike to generate a little bit of additional gold. Sure, I mean, why not? They decide that the choice is going to be the Dark Harvest. So I'm curious to see how many stacks of that Shorter Ace is really going to be able to get. But it appears like he wants to, use that Dark Binding to make sure that he's going to be active on the map early, and he's going to be setting up these lanes for success.
Farming speed wise, if I'm not wrong, he actually will be quite quicker than the Poppy, so his impact to the map will be a bit quicker than the Poppy. Like, he can just begin moving around the map really quick if he knows the clear speed or the way to clear with the Morgana. He can try and make it as quick as possible and try and find angles to go into lanes where it should be quite easy to get some lockdown. Particularly K'Sante doesn't have flash, and then the Kai'Sa, even if she has a way to try and run, it's not like she's quick enough or she doesn't need to commit flash to try and escape something like the Dark Binding. So it could be a play in the bot lane as well.
Absolutely here. Looking on out, 20 seconds to go on the load in. Going to be an exciting one to be sure. Both mid laners, I think, showing up really well last game. Now playing the same matchup a second time. Gonna be curious to see who kind of levels up a little bit more. Phase rush on the Scion. Lotus Exiles, they're cooking.
Respect.
Man. They're going for some crazy stuff. I love to see it. How much lethality is City Witty going to build? Is it going to be any? Is it going to be none? Phase rush makes me wonder.
All the lethality, Gordo. It's going to be complete lethality Scion, and that means that split pushing actually becomes an actual matter against Scion if he goes the lethality route. Also, I like the pairing, if I'm not wrong, the pairing from the Senna Scion where you can stun multiple targets with the pushback is actually quite nice to try and see. And I think that if they can get the lockdown into one of the two squishy champions, then following on that lockdown is really easy for Lotus. They have a lot of tools to try and CC down targets. So could be really interesting seeing how well they can coordinate that and how quickly can they collapse on one of the targets that they CC. A lot of potential for both of these sides. Like, I can see any sort of pick becoming an instantaneous death for either of these teams, and then that turning into an objective immediately.
Definitely. And yeah, I agree with you, TDS. I want to see more focus out of the bot lane towards the Dragons from, I presume Clown Gaming, if they're able to build up an advantage again, but the Scion Senna lane, it can be dangerous too, and it can definitely give some really powerful setups for Shorter Ace to be able to come in for ganks. I do question where the damage is going to come from a little bit. Like, can you even really burst somebody out with Scion Senna Morgana?
Well, if you charge the Q long enough as a lethality Scion, that's a lot of damage.
True. Dark Binding may be the only CC in the game long enough to guarantee you a fully charged decimating smash. So, you know what? They're geniuses, TDS. I gotta stop asking any questions at all. This comp is flawless.
If they are able to burst someone out, I'll just be watching, laughing my ass off, because I know that can work out to a certain degree. And if not, we just wait to 30 minutes, they get 3 items, and then just win the game passively, pretty much. Or die in the process.
Or die in the process. One or the other. So it looks like we're going to find out right now. Game is ready. We are getting onto the Rift for game number 2. Clown Gaming looking to strike back against Lotus Exiles and take us to a game number 3. Lotus Exiles looking to join the likes of Winthrop with a clean 2-0 sweep to move themselves to the next round of the upper bracket and send Clown Gaming to the depths.
Oh, and it's the level 1 Gordo. Lotus looking for it, trying to go with a similar one. Oh, wait, but they don't know.
No, Cryogen, you've CC'd yourself, my man. Can't even be channeling that Q. You gotta let that thing go and flash on out of here. Summoner blown. Lotus Exiles win the level 1 trade.
Well, that's a way to start a game. The cheesers were cheesed, pretty much. Cryogen having to blow the flash, and now maybe the target for ganks to come down there in the bot lane. Exiles is maybe trying to set up something they know. Oh, wait, the setup is good.
Wow. Great hook there found by Cryogen. Ignite coming on through. Decimating Smash going to return back onto Cryogen, but plenty of damage landing onto City Witty, and now he is summonerless as well, so they're going to even the odds.
I was thinking maybe Seb flashes in with the Q and just tries to take the trade. Oh, yep. See, you have to go away. You cannot stay there that way. And, well, actually, it turned into a flashless Cryogen to a flashless exhaustless Cyan. And no heal as well. So, big shot for Cloud Gaming. I don't know how they made it work, but they did.
Indeed, they did. Again, putting all the faith in Cryogen to land these hooks on the pike. This time it pays off for him. And City Witty finds himself at half HP as the laning phase starts, summonerless. Rovex's flash, the only one they have left available. Zev still sitting here on both. To keep our eyes on this matchup as an early invade from Excelsis as well. Feels like, hey, there is no threat from this no summoners half HP Scion. I'm starting on this blue buff.
Yeah, they are really expecting it to work out. Oh, the Scion gets stunned.
The level 2 kind of late there from City Witty, and it's looking like it's a first blood in the 2-on-2 for Cloud Gaming. Excelsis finding Shorter Ace, looking to make it 2, but can't quite get the last bit of damage. Shorter Ace forced to flash, forced out of his jungle, and everything is just going wrong for Lotus.
Yeah, and Cryogen doesn't die actually, so everything perfect, and Shorter Ace is still... Cryogen might
very close enough. It doesn't matter. He's going down. Phantom Undertow connects.
It still works out. I don't know how, but it's a 3v3 down there on the bot side. Wait, actually, Darkwings?
Going on, it's a fiesta down here on the bottom side, TDS. Darkwings chunked out low. Shorter Ace goes down. A kill onto City Witty. Clown Gaming up 2-0, robbing Lotus blind.
This is fine with us, Gordo. You know that we enjoy the high-level games and the Fiesta games. Everything is perfect to see. And in that trade, Clown Gaming with the big victory. 2 kills, 1 that we didn't spot, that we saw down there in the bot lane. And this Darkwings Shorter Ace, getting collapsed on inside of the jungle. Excelsis find the perfect angle. And this is one of the only spots where maybe the Poppy can actually fight the Morgana, because there's no Dark Shield. So that means that they can try and make it work. Shorter Ace survives there by a bit, but I don't know why he walked back in. He knew that he wasn't in the best of spots and actually ended up getting collapsed on and killed there by Excelsis.
Ooh, Debonair getting ganked by Shorter Ace in the mid lane, will be forced to flash away. A little bit found back by Lotus there. Shorter Ace has so few camps now left on his side of the map as they're going to be focusing on forward. City Witty just melts. Wow, that damage out of Zev was crazy, as they just melt down the Scion for a second time with this phase rush with the sorcery tree. He's just not tanky enough.
Yeah, he's not tanky enough, and he also just has the Doran shield. So actually, he doesn't have enough survivability. Ro16 in kind of a bad spot. Oh.
Calculated. I mean, in Cryogen, he takes 2 turret shots for that play, but he knows the math. He's got the kill numbers in his head.
Yeah,
he comes up with another kill perfectly.
It works out great, and they get not only get the kill, but Ro16 wasn't even able to flash. They are trying to push this wave. More than likely, I don't think Sev is going to be able to actually push the wave all the way into the turret, but 2-0-1 for the Kai'Sa, 1-0-3 for the Pyke. Cryogen doing an amazing job so far to start of this game, and for Clown Gaming, the dream start.
The dream start for certain here. Clown Gaming already up 1.5k gold at 5 minutes into the game. This is the kind of gold lead that you get when you like ace them at level 1. This is really big, and it's all on Zev. It's all on the Kai'Sa. You could not have drawn it up better. They would have, if they could have chosen any champion to put this gold onto, they probably would have chosen that one. And Cryogen's not letting up, landing another harpoon.
Yeah, he wants to try and put as much pressure as possible. I would argue maybe Debonair is also a good candidate to try and get the gold funneled into. But yeah, this time around, giving it to Seb, trying to make this guys as strong as possible, especially looking into teamfights, going into the mid game. You want to have the Kai'Sa that will dive into the backline as strong as possible, because that way you can actually kill targets as soon as they get collapsed onto.
Indeed. Now, going to just be continuing to farm up, playing it a little bit slower, taking a bit of a break as the summoner spells come on up for everybody involved. Debonair, though, sees a chance for a big trade onto Dark Wings here.
Oh, he fails.
He's going to get as much damage as he can, snap back to the soul. Going to continue on with that push.
Yeah, the knock-up not going to connect, but it's not like it completely matters. Rubik's going to try and be collapsing, but it's not going to actually turn into anything big. And the rest of the map just looking pretty straightforward. Actually, kind of curious, is Seb going to opt into the static shift build once again, or is he going to look into the I forget the name, the Stormbrazer? Yeah, the Stormbrazer build. Thanks production, thanks Caddy, always on the lookout. Again, City.
Yeah, that's the question, right? I mean, a lot of people moving away from the static shiv lately. Is he gonna flash hook here? No. Okay. All right. Cryogen's, he's calmed down. He's not that much of a madman.
Gordo, we should try and support his craziness. Like, that's how you create really brave supports. Encourage the crazy.
It's true. This is the hyperbolic time chamber. This is where we're training Cryogen for his future here. As he goes over the wall, finds another hook, and the exhaust is forced. Sneaks back on out of there with the depth from below, or the dive, whatever it's called. Gets himself out of there and going to be continuing to keep up the pressure up against the Lotus Exiles bot lane.
Yeah, and we talked about this. With this sort of pressure, they look immediately into the dragon. They are getting the first dragon of the game at 7 minutes. Probably not the quickest they could have gotten it, but it's still a really nice timing to try and force it. Because we were saying this, if you have control from over bot side, just force the play in your favor. That way you can try and create a win condition much quicker for you. Dark Wings getting collapsed on here. Just takes damage.
Right. Yeah, takes a bit of damage. Cryogen's not letting him go, though. Cryogen's gonna stay on top of him. He's got Hail of Blades. He's got plenty of damage. The Ignite is gonna be enough, but Debonair picks up the kill credit for himself. Shorter Ace flashes in, doesn't land that ultimate, and is going to be pushed on back here by Cryogen, waiting out the Black Shield. It's gone, and the hook connects. Another kill picked up by Cryogen. Not able to find the Dark Binding on towards the enemy. Lotus Exiles jungler give up another.
Cryogen is playing like a true carry, goes in for the gank, gets enough damage into Dark Wings to just force the solo kill pretty much by himself. Like, I know Debonair gets it, but it's essentially a solo kill for Cryogen, and then looks into the eyes of the Morgana, waits out the Dark Shield, and then just kills the Morgana with the help of the Poppy. Really well executed, really nicely done, and he's not going to give up anything else. He's just going to keep himself there. Ro16 has to be careful.
He's holding down Ro16. Ro16 has to flash away, but Debonair's on top of him, and Debonair's gonna pick up the kill. It is gonna be in trade for Cryogen, but still favorable because of where that gold ends up allocated. The CC though coming through, chaining on top of Debonair. He's gonna have to dash back to safety, looking for the kill is City Witty. Excelsis is so low, he flashes out underneath the turret, and nobody left goes down for Clown Gaming.
Please go to look quickly at the gold. 3,300 for Cryogen, 3,100 for Dark Wings. He has more gold than the enemy mid laner. That's how bad Cryogen is at this point in the game.
Huge. Absolutely huge for Cryogen. He does end up going down there, but 100% KP. He is unleashed. The young mid laner from Clown Gaming, I believe the youngest player in the ACL. Absolutely popping off in this game number 2.
You mean young support, right? Because he's not the mid laner.
I didn't even realize I said mid laner. I definitely meant player. But
it's just that good. And he's still here. He wants more kills. He actually has enough damage to just solo Ro16.
Yeah, and he's gonna do that. I mean, diving on in, doesn't land the Phantom Undertow. Nice jump away from Ro16. Will get Excelsis out of there and will keep this Senna alive.
Yeah, the fact that he can just solo out Ro16 in that situation, and probably solo out a couple of other champions just because of how the game has been going so far, it's kind of scary. With his ultimate, Ro16 is dead 100%. Boyle has ultimate as well now here. Can try and maybe look for something onto Lawrence.
Definitely could. Has to end up behind him to pull him underneath the turret, but Cassante has ways of making these sorts of things happen. Is Shorter Ace hovering around the bot lane, as is Excelsis. Expecting to see a little bit of action down here soon. Decimating Smash lands, but I'm going to be honest, City Witty I don't think you're really happy with how that trade went. Takes an isolated Acathian Rain down below half HP once again.
He's not in the best of spots possible. When they reach level 6 with Cryogen, which should be soon enough, that's going to also be a scary factor to try and get the execute on the kills. And then looking at moving around the map, that's where also Cryogen will try and find as much value as possible. In the top lane, we haven't had much to talk about because honestly, top lane is top lane. It's not that exciting to see or to look at. Oh,
Cryogen going in onto Ro16, just gonna chunk him out. Just really feeling himself here. Just wants to go in for damage. Knows he can't get the kill. Doesn't really care. Just there to keep health bars
He's just
up.
going to keep on doing this.
He certainly is. He manages to once again find another chunk here.
That is so well done.
On towards Darkwings. He can't move. He can't breathe. TDS. He goes down again.
That was beautiful, to say the least. Exiles is finding the angle and then follow up by Devoner. They find the kill, they don't stop, they just lock him down until he dies. And that's the perfect way to execute on it. They get another kill, another point of pressure, and this game from Clown Gaming, I would even go and say, complete contrast to the previous one. They have full control over the map, they have full control over what they want to accomplish, and they are not giving Lotus Exiles breathing room to do essentially anything. Yes, they lost the Reef Herald up during the top lane, but it doesn't really matter. It's they're going to lose a couple of plates, but they have way more value all around the map.
Way more value and way more gold for it. Moving on in, boil the oil. Just trying to stop Lawrence from doing the old split push strategy that he's been going for all series long at this point. Not really netting himself a massive lead for that effort. Dragon is alive once again. Expect to see Clown Gaming look to try to make a move towards this. They have the prio bot.
Yeah, they have the movement first. They actually are setting themselves up in a really good spot with Lawrence moving quickly as well. If they are able to lock down the position, they can try and force the fight, although teleport in the back.
A little bit desynced here, our Clown Gaming. Not going to be able to get in to try to steal the dragon, but Boil the Oil has teleported behind. Gets the stun onto 2. Here's the Phantom Undertow for the chain CC. Death from below hits 1. Shorter Ace taken low. Zev goes on a killing spree. City Witty the next target. Thrown backwards and forwards and all around and taken down again. There's going to be Cryogen finally dropping, but it's in trade for 4, and they'll be plenty happy with that, assuming that Lawrence is going to be able to get taken down, but he's managed to get away.
Yeah, they're not going to look for him. They are going to move immediately into the mid lane. They know that the plates are going to fall down soon, and they more than likely want to try and collect the gold that it's left there. Although Ro16 is going to be ready to answer for it, so probably not going to be quite a lot of gold, but still big team fight victory for them. And also, they have now gotten even more value for their team. Like you were mentioning, though, this was a bit distinct in terms of how quick they were opting into it, but because of the angle that Boyle find, it's perfect to try and set up for the lockdown between Cryogen and the Kesante. Yes, the ulti from Morgana was looking really good, but it doesn't really matter because it's not locking down anyone of value. The Kesante is doing his things. Oh wait, Lawrence
Was the last survivor from that fight, and he is going to get taken down as well. Clown Gaming find themselves another pick in the bot lane. Back to the replay.
Yeah, perfect kill onto Lawrence to try and keep it up. Really unlucky for Cryogen, but he was also kind of asked for it because he looked out. If he just stays on the bush, he probably survives. But he walked out because he wanted more blood and ends up paying the price. But the team is really grateful about it because they win the fight so handily. They get another kill onto Lawrence on the bot side, and the control of the game so on the side of Clown Gaming. They need to keep on doing this sort of plays because their composition will not scale as well as Lotus. But at the end of the day, they have so much value in their whole comp.
Absolutely beautiful play so far from Clown Gaming. Controlled, aggressive, and all off the back of Cryogen. He's lost his 100% KP, but still holding a game MVP in his pocket right now, assuming the team is going to be able to close out from here.
No, they really won this.
Look,
but I don't know.
Yeah, hooking back in, keeping them in place. Depth from below finds City Witty. Clown Gaming now 14-2 on the scoreboard in a dominant position.
Yeah, they really wanted it, but honestly, I'm not sure if they ever want to try and go for that once again. Cryogen and Seb are really strong at this point. Robix taking so much damage, and they have to be extra careful about how they opt into any of these fights. As we see, the platings pretty equal all around the map, but you can see the clear difference where the gold is allocated. 3 on top side, 3 on bot side, and whoever can carry the best will do the job for the team.
And starting on up this second Rift Herald. Looking at plating once again, dead even between these teams in the plate competition, but the kill competition has favored Clown Gaming all game long, as Debonair taking a big trade with Lawrence here. Lawrence feels committed to use the ultimate, is going to find himself pretty low on HP. Cryogen has found him now. Cryogen smells blood in the water. The flash in from Lawrence, though. Lawrence turns it around on him and picks up the solo shutdown. But now Zev has arrived at the play as well. Can Lawrence navigate his way out of this play? He's devouring the fruit. He's turning it back towards Zev. Fate Sealed connects. And finally, Zev is able to take him off the map. Now Debonair are going to have to jump over the wall, avoid being the victim of another kill from Lotus Exiles. Clown Gaming make it a 1-for-1.
Will be the red buff stolen though in the meanwhile, and yeah, Seb actually almost dying as well. Cryogen may be really strong, but you're not strong enough to fight a Jax. Even if you're on equal items, it's still a Jax against you, and they are going to pay the price with their life. But I like that they are able to find back a trade onto the Jax really effectively, and also that Lotus is able to get something in favor of them, because they not only find the counter kill, but also the red buff, maybe more here.
Diving forward, they're looking to lock down City Witty. City Witty has nowhere left to go. He will fall to Zeb. The knockup, the hook back on the shorter ace, pulled out of position and taken out by Clown Gaming. They find themselves another kill, double kill over to Zev. 6-0 and 5 on this Kaisa. Clown Gaming continue to be unable to do wrong. They are losing Cryogen in some of these plays, but it is worth it each and every time.
Yeah, this probably will mean, although actually no, they are not going to commit to it. It's not going to be the mid lane turret falling down, which would be a bit of a big victory for Lotus before the dragon, but it's important that they get another kill up there. And now Lawrence once again looking for the fight, but maybe Boyle can try and actually do something here.
Yeah, Boil the Oil committing the all-out, chasing him down, and a solo kill to Boil the Oil. Showing out on this Cassante, showing why the priority is there. As Debonair's looking for a flank, Fate sealed in, pushed back by the Emperor's Divide, and Dark Wings will protect his team.
Yeah, even without the Emperor's Divide though, the angle was so good, but it doesn't find the connection, and at the end it's not going to be another kill in favor of the side of Clown Gaming. They do get a lot of control over the dragon, and because the Lawrence is dead and he doesn't have teleport either, this means that they more than likely are not going to be able to contest into this dragon. That being said, Lotus is still finding ways to fight the game out, but we're finally we're seeing Clown controlling so much of the pace of the game and so much of the space that they want to play around with. And if this Cassante turns up, then it's going to be even more difficult for them to try and stop them. As we see the highlight, 6-0 and 5, 8,000 gold in favor, pretty much equaling both the AD carry and the support from the enemy team by himself.
And we highlighted the bot lane as we were getting into this series, and both games so far feel like they have been defined by that lane. So much play around there, and game number 1 eventually ended up favoring City Witty, and now it is Zev who is massively ahead in this game number 2. Flashback away by City. Just not having a fun time on the Scion TDS. He can't get anything going. Sitting on just Sunfire Cape, 0-5 and 3.
Also, we knew, even though we were kind of expecting or maybe thinking that they were going to go for the lethality just because of the phase rush, it's going to be the tank Scion instead. And I'm kind of arguing a bit more, why not opt into just the tank rune? Oh, Dark Wings, they're forcing so heavily.
Back once again, a long snapback from Debonair. Probably the right choice given the turret was shooting at him. The Dark Wings once again. He's farming as safely as he can. He's avoiding giving up unnecessary deaths, but is that going to be enough to carry this Lotus team in team fights?
Well, he's getting his items. As long as he gets 2 items, I can see a team fight where if he free hits, he can try and destroy everyone. But it's kind of difficult to really say if they are going to find that. Long team fights though for Lotus are also something that we didn't talk much about, but if they're able to get team fights that last longer than 5-6 seconds, I can see them being able to outlast Clown Gaming because they do have a Senna and they have the Asir as well.
Indeed they do. Celsius taking on up that Rift Scuttler, setting up for some control around the Baron, and you can see pings from Lotus Exiles onto that objective. They have no vision on that side of the map, and they have to worry about if Clown Gaming are starting it up. But you know that Cryogen has a perfect opportunity to set a trap.
They are going to try and look for maybe something on the side. Exiles is in a really weird spot here, and maybe caught out of position. It's not going to be the case there. But talking about the Baron buff, Cloud Gaming has a super quick Baron buff. Oh, Zeb. That is
the wall onto Darkwing's. Nice job by Zev using the supercharger to evade the Emperor's Divide. Darkwing's nearly turning nothing into something. A great evade from the Cloud Gaming marks. Keep him safe. Cryogen caught by Lawrence, flashes out to safety.
Didn't you see Lawrence on the side there?
Excelsis, a big charge into the wall on a shorter ace. He doesn't have time to get off the black shield, and the flank from Boil the Oil. Clown Gaming collapse in an instant and eviscerate the Lotus Exiles team. 3 members down. This is going to be Baron.
And just when nothing was looking like it was going to happen, something immediately appears by virtue of Excelsis finding, if I'm not wrong, it was Shorter Ace actually, but Shorter Ace puts the Dark Shield onto the Senna. Senna just runs away, but they find the perfect angle. They find the target that doesn't have the Dark Shield. That means that they can force themselves onto the champions and kill them immediately. And if we get the replay, you can see how quick the action by Clown Gaming ends up being. They see Excelsis coming in on the side, but they don't feel like it's going to be a big problem. Yeah, in mid-flash, I think actually the Dark Shield going onto the Sion? No, he just went late.
Yeah, just doesn't get it in time. Thinks that the Dark Binding is going to protect him, throws it out, but it gets flashed over by Excelsis. Good mechanical outplay there, and just fails the hands test on the Morgana. Shorter Ace goes down.
Oh, they are looking for more here.
Woo.
Well, they wanted more, but they don't find it.
They wanted it. They throw out the harpoon. Not enough. Void Seeker connects, though. By the way, for those keeping track at home, it was the Storm Razor for Zev. Yeah. They are now crawling on towards the bottom side of the map. They know that that dragon's going to be up before too long, and Boil the Oil pushing on towards Lawrence, looking for a dive. Hook connects. Boil the Oil doesn't go all out. Will satisfy himself just by chunking Lawrence to half HP, just by keeping the push up in 2 lanes. They're going to look for an inner before this dragon spawns, and Shorter Ace charged into the wall, beautifully set up by Excelsis, and Debonair is going to look to cut him down. Fate sealed in, snap back, Debonair is dominating.
Flash may prolong your life, but Debonair is going to take it anyway. And they not only find the kill, they find the mid lane turret. Shorter Ace is not playing the best game possible, or is not finding the best opportunity to play this game, because Excelsis is doing an amazing job as the Poppy.
Going in on the split push. That means this is a 5 versus 3 in the base. Lawrence pulled out of position. Boil the Oil takes him out, and now it's going to just be Rovex and Darkwings trying to defend their base. The Dark Wingdom is collapsing around them. Finally, it's the recall coming through from City Witty, but he might just be too late to defend anything. Pulled back in by Boil the Oil. They're charging up everything to dive into the backline, connects onto Debonair, but there's no follow-up damage. And City Witty goes into the zombie mode. Debonair looking for more, flashes in on a Rovex. Not going to be able to execute him, and instead going to focus back on towards the towers. Hook back from Cryogen means that Shorter Ace is off the map. Zev goes legendary as this siege doesn't have to stop.
And they still have the teleport by Debonair. As soon as he wants to come back, he can. And they are looking to try and push. Lawrence is spawning really soon, so maybe a bit scary to try and overcommit here. But overall, the damage has been done. Darkwings doesn't want to stop. That is a perfect.
I Boil the Oil. Nobody gets hit by the Emperor's Divide, and Darkwings cannot clean anything up on the backside. Recalls coming through from Clown Gaming while they still have the Baron buff, but they're going to be back out on the map, and they're just going to take the dragon while they do it. They don't need the full squad anymore.
They don't need to have the members around them because they have complete control over the map. And Debonair may be looking for another kill. The kingdom is falling. Oh, it's not enough actually. Oh, wait.
It is. Snapback damage. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. There's just nothing left for Darkwings to be able to do in these one-on-one engages. Finally, though, it looks like they're going to be able to find Devin. They're committing everything in short race, but they're going to go into the stasis to be able to stay safe. Stun comes through as soon as they're out, though, and that's going to be shut down. Gold going over to City Witty. Now looking to chase onto Exiles as they land the point-blank knockup. Exiles is going to be able to charge away through the birds and will keep himself safe. Clown Gaming, they've lost their mid laner. They should cut those losses and look to regroup. Can
we get a stat on how long that CC was onto Debonair? Because that felt like an eternity, a literal eternity for Debonair. He just sat there while he was getting killed. And the meanwhile, Lawrence getting the gold, really nice for them to try and come back into the game in an effective manner. But the difference, they have to try and survive for at the very least 10 minutes. So let's see the replay. Stun 1, 2. Then it's once again the Morgana. He's going to get stunned again, even if the Sion gets cancelled, and then another one. That was 2 Dark Bindings in just one kill.
Absolutely here, Excelsis manages to make a sneaky little escape there, but now still going to be a massive lead for Clown Gaming. They are 11k ahead and are 1 fight away from being able to close out this game number 2. Looking to force the full distance here, TDS. We still know how to pick series. It was looking like it might be Lotus Exiles one side in game number 1, but Clown Gaming show they have plenty left in the tank in game number 2. With a incredibly dominant showing here. Just need to find one more engage angle, find one more pick, and this game might just be over.
Lawrence looking for a potential kill here. 5 members coming in as well.
Nice dodge away by Boil the Oil, using the footwork. Although CC landed onto Excelsis, caught out, flashes away. Has the fast presence for the movement speed. He stays alive. He's out of there.
Yeah, they try to look for the picks. I like the decision that Lotus is looking for, because with no objectives in the map, the only way that they can find something is going for these side lane picks, and it's working out for them so far. Yes, they don't get the kills, but they are forcing out so much from Clown Gaming, and they are making the push not be as effective as it can be for the side of Clown. So overall, really nice decision by Lotus. They still need more time and more gold, but so far has worked out at the very least for a tiny bit. With the Baron buff spawning now, though, that is going to probably change when they get the objective and they can push with super minions onto the base.
That's what's supposed to be the backbreaker, and that's what Lotus Exiles have to piece together something to prevent. Clown Gaming already waiting for the spawn. This is their gift. This is their chance to close out the game, and they are wasting no time getting onto that objective. Already below half HP. There will be no contest from Lotus Exiles.
There's no chance that there was going to be a stop on the objective, and they are going against Boil once again, but Gisante is just way too slippery. Like, I understand the idea, but you need at the very least 3 members, and you need to have a lot of lockdown to be able to take him down, and it doesn't seem like that's the case if the Jax is the one starting the play.
Where's my Showmaker copy pasta? This is Gisante. He has 4,000 HP. He has 3 dashes. He's on top of Shorter Ace and currently 1v2ing your jungler and top laner, diving back in onto the Morgana, forcing out the bases, pulling them back. Excelsis has been killed in the base as the engage is found by Cryogen. It's all on Zev to try to pop up in the fight. He takes down 2. He goes into the stasis to protect himself from City Witty. And meanwhile, with the distraction, Boil the Oil is still standing, is still fighting. Will do anything to buy his team time in the base. The Clowns have finally broken through the base and are looking to close out game number 2. We've got a series on our hands, TDS. Go into game number 3.
And we go the full distance, Gordo. You said it. We know how to select good series, and this one, it's not going to disappoint. 2 games where it's kind of dominating from both sides, but at the very least, they are showcasing great stuff themselves. Debonair was locked down in a really weird spot, ends up getting killed as well as Excelsis, but he had the Guardian Angel, so it didn't matter that much. Seb does have the damage anyway, so as long as he doesn't get CC'd in a weird spot, it shouldn't matter at all. And it didn't. He gets the kill at the end of the day, as well as in the meanwhile, Gisante dealing with himself with 2 champions, so it didn't really matter what was happening on the other side, because he was just pretty much handling a lot of the pressure, and a really strong member in the form of the Jax. I also think that if that was a 5v3 or a 5v4, maybe that looks a bit worse for the side of Clown Gaming, but at the end of the day, they close it out, and now we're looking to a game 3.
Yeah, huge shout out to Boil the Oil there. literally 1v2 for like 15 to 20 seconds, forcing out cooldowns, forcing their attention, and buying the space and time for that fight was not a good one. Excelsis and Debonair go down super early. Dark Wings staging a hell of a defense with the remaining 2 teammates that he had. But finally, playing safely and quietly in the backline all game long, Zev sees a moment to pull the trigger, dives into the back, takes down the 2 crucial targets, protects himself up against City Witty, and is able to secure the dub for Clown Gaming.
Doing a really, really good job in general. And like you're saying, this was probably one of the most impactful Kaysantis that hasn't had to do a lot in the game when you think about what happened, right? Because we didn't see a lot of plays around the Kaysante or even attention around the Kaysante, but it was more so his existence just made everyone focus him in a way, and it just worked out for Clown Gaming in a really effective manner. That being said, I also want to highlight so much of Cryogen and Excelsis, because this duo just pushed up so much of the pressure from Clown Gaming so early on in the game, and it is what enabled them to just completely snowball out of control. Like that, their early game was so good. And in contrast, Shorter Ace counterpicked with the Morgana and didn't really have that much of a factor in the game. He never really felt like he was doing anything meaningful for the team. As a counterpick, not the best showing.
Definitely true here. So gonna be a lot of decisions to be made in this draft, right? What worked in game number 1, what didn't work in game number 2, what is going to be the final decision in a series that has your upper bracket life on the line. We're gonna throw it to a quick break here while we get into draft for our 3rd and final game of the night. We could not have drawn it up any better to start off the ACL playoffs. We're going to be back in a couple of minutes with draft for game number 3. Welcome back to the Aegis Champions League, everybody, where we are going to game number 3 for our very first night of playoffs. Clown Gaming strike back in game number 2. They are taking on Lotus Exiles for a third and final time tonight. Other scores from around the league ticking on above you. Fear have completed the 2-0 over Harrisburg Storm. There's going to be Ole Miss going 1-1 up against Gentle Hearts Gaming. So Clown Gaming waving hello, goodbye, whatever, salutations, whatever you want to say, they're waving over to their former rivals in the Zon group, presumably wishing them the best as they had such similar stories coming into this playoffs, having upset so many higher rated teams to make it to this stage. Them as the first and second seeds out of Zon. Certainly one of our most exciting stories coming out of the group stage. Now both these teams pushed to game number 3 to try to prove that it wasn't a fluke.
Yeah, do we not know who is winning CCG at this point? Although we started the ban phase, but I'm surprised we don't know CCG's score right now as well. But
yeah,
well,
I don't know. We're reliant on human input to find out what the scores are. So there's always room for those things to collapse a little bit as we have raced through the bans here.
Yep.
And Clown Gaming run it back. The Oriana, the Cassante, and the Maokai. We were talking before we went live, TDS, that Oriana and Cassante absolutely mandatory bans for Clown Gaming. They choose to round out with the Maokai. The Jarvan going to be the first pick.
And they opened up bans for both sides because the Jarvan is left open now, but also the Balbet, something that Clown seems to love a lot, and it's something that Exiles can try and perform with. We were surprised we were talking about the Jax from Lawrence being a PowerPoint so far this series, but it feels like neither team wants to try and keep it around with it. And it's also going to be Karma potentially for Cryogen or a flex into the mid lane or top lane as well, depending on who can play around the champion. But a really interesting choice already for Clown, and the draft going by quickly, but it's going to be really exciting, as well as the Syndra. So having the pushback onto the Velvet, I would expect maybe the mid lane counter pick here, so they don't try and close out onto the winner's champion pool, and then try and secure the rest of the map as you see what's going on. Top lane as well could be the choice.
Lawrence gets a third game of his Jax. Debonair going to opt out, or sorry, Darkwing's going to opt out of the Azir that he's played the first 2 games, going to go into the Syndra instead. And the Renekton going to be the choice into Jax. Struggled in this matchup. Both of y'all got 1 solo kill, but then struggled as the game went on last time. Going to choose, or going to hope that he doesn't have to get into those side lane situations in this game number 3. Do want to call out Excelsis on the Bel'Veth. This has been a huge pick for him in solo queue, but not one he's busted out in the ACL. Has been keeping it in the back pocket thus far, drawn 5 bans on it, 0 picks. Now going to be on it in this do or die game. The LeBlanc ban from Lotus Exiles, once again the Rel from Clown Gaming as they look to pinch that support pool.
They were trying to look into what the side of Lotus can look into. The Karma feels like maybe potentially is going to go towards the support position, especially with the support bans coming through. So trying to make maybe the pick as have an easier time as CC of a time as possible down there in the bot lane. And with the Caitlyn, yeah, it's looking like they probably, if it's a Caitlyn, they probably want to try and lock down this hyper aggressive, hyper controlled bot lane that can just keep on pushing and pushing and pushing and trying to get control of the bot side as much as possible. The risk though is that you enabled a lot of the potential ganks from the Jarvan if you do opt into this bot lane.
Yeah, hovering the Caitlyn here. The Ezreal is the classic pairing with the Karma. That's already been banned away. And the Caitlyn will be the selection here. So again, an aggressive bot lane duo for the side of Clown Gaming. And notably, Lotus choosing to ban away the Senna this time. So they are looking to play a more traditional bot lane duo. The Aphelios Rakan for City Witty and Rovex.
The team fighting from Lotus is really, really strong this game. So the pick potential by CG has to be strong. And I think they have to look for a mid laner that can enable that. So it should be a Karma mid lane, actually, if this is the case. I think it's more so the Karma mid lane if they go for their Nautilus. So playing around the flex potential, which we kind of talked about when the Karma was picked. In that sense, I'm not against the Nautilus. It works better for the setup for the Caitlyn. And it feels more in the Cryogen pool, right? It feels more to what we expect from Cryogen than the Karma. Not saying that he cannot play it, but it feels like Nautilus fits more into what Cryogen should play or could play.
Agree, and what really comes to mind for me is that this is all going to be about Debonair on the not Debonair, Excelsis on the Belveth, right? They are going to look to enable Debonair, Excelsis at any potential cost. Debonair's job going to be to follow that Manta Ray around to make sure that Belveth is going to be as safe as possible in their engages, in their invades, and in whatever interactions they come up with up against the Lotus Exiles. They need to get this Belveth off the ground. They need to get her some good camps, some good invades, and to be able to carry through the rest of the game. As everybody else, they're just looking to hold down their lanes. They're looking to be able to get push. They're looking to be able to enable these invades and to get the snowball rolling for that jungler.
Yeah, particularly making it as easy to snowball as possible. They have a lot of tools to try and just make the side of Clown just try and get the ball running in their favor, and they have a really good hyper carry in the form of the Belveth. Even though she's not an AD carry, she works in a similar manner to a certain degree, not with the range but with the way that she operates, and I think that they can try and maximize the value of the Belveth if they can play around it really effectively. That being said, top lane matchup, we know how it's gone so far, and the Jax has looked really strong against Boil the Oil. It doesn't even give him enough opportunity to actually get control over the top side, so that's already a place where maybe Lotus can just try and put as much pressure as possible and take away from the Herald, something vital for the Belveth. And then in the mid lane, it feels like it's going to be a pushing game, and if that's the case, if the Belveth can find some sort of leeway through the mid lane, trying to move around towards the bot lane and try and put as much pressure there, then maybe you can see the Belveth scaling or snowballing as strong as possible.
For sure. Finishing off the in-client draft, everything going where we expect. It's not the Nautilus mid, it's not the do and be impression, it is going to be that Karma. And that's one that, you know, it's been popular in times past, but it's not one we get to see a lot of these days. I'm excited to see that kind of setup though with the support plus carry jungler. I remember in NACL summer, there was a week where Wildcard brought strategies like that up against Team Liquid, and it was their way of neutralizing the really strong jungler that Team Liquid brought to the table in Mir. Looking for a similar approach here for Clown Gaming, where they're just going to look to completely shove in against Darkwings as often and as hard as they possibly can, and looking to punish Shorter Race and take him out of the game entirely while getting Excelsis well accelerated. You're muted, TDS.
I almost always forget that exists, but exactly about that. And also just quickly want to mention, because I just noticed it, Mir lost. Our defending champions lost 2-0 to keep pathing bot. Just goes to show how strong the season is in terms of the quality of each of this team. So even more value to everyone else that was able to advance. And looking into how the brackets may end up looking like, because now we have a bit more of the results, more of the teams being drafted into place. The bracket looks really interesting now, especially the ones that have to face whoever or Mirage Alliance that is now in the lower bracket. That's a matchup that you wanted to try and evade as much as possible. Now it's looking really interesting on the lower bracket as well.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like it's going to be CCG Futures paired up against Mirage Alliance. That's going to be a spicy elimination match. The loser of this match will go on to play against University of California, San Diego, as we addressed earlier. So the opponent you're trying to avoid by winning here, you'll be up against Winthrop University if you're able to take the win here. None of these teams are thinking about that at this point, though. They have got to be laser focused on the opponent that is in front of them. This has been a close series so far, and neither one wants to blink when they have a chance to move on up to the upper quarterfinals. So let's take a look through our runes and masteries here. Continuing to be the setup for Lawrence is this Grasp of the Undying. Not too many surprises coming on across in this top lane at the very least, as these two are going to clash for the third time tonight and for the second time in the Cassante versus Renekton matchup.
Renekton against Jax, right? Yep. Which has gone for the better for Lawrence. Lawrence has been able to play the matchup really well. There's a reason why Lawrence was so focused with this particular champion, and it's because he's performing great on it. And if he can keep up the performance, I can see a world where Lotus is able to carry through that top lane being super strong so far. But I wanted to make a jump quickly into the bot side, because it was kind of one of the matchups that we were hyping up with the players that were down there. But it's because this is the first game where we're going to see City Witty playing an actual AD carry. we're a bit joking about it, but this is the first time that we're going to see CD play an AD carry in the series, and it's a hyper carry at that. The Aphelios that if you give him room to try and carry a team fight, he can demolish everyone in it. So it's going to be really interesting how they are going to perform with the Aphelios, and also if they are going to find the team fighting angles that the Aphelios loves to play around with. As well as if he gets opportunity to play the bot lane, because he's against the Caitlyn, the Nautilus, two champions that are known to not only dumpster on the enemy bot lane, but also to try and put pressure down into the turret, set up dives, try and kill you even when you're farming. And if the side of Clown Gaming is able to make this work out really, really well, as well as keep control over the dragons like we were talking about in the previous games, then this can enable so much of what Clown Gaming wants to achieve and just makes them an unstoppable monster.
Yeah, and you know, definitely great point there on City Witty playing a real AD carry this time around. We've been emphasizing the depth of his pool and the variety that he brings to the table throughout the night, but this guy plays your traditional AD carries as well. As most played this season was the Zeri with Lotus Exiles in the regular season. They are very comfortable putting him in a position to be the hyper carry for the team, and that's exactly the position that he gets placed in here. Going to be up against first strike Caitlyn, so that really does make you wonder, is it going to be the lethality Caitlyn coming out of Zev? Is that what they want to focus on? I mean, they have so much DPS coming out of the Belveth. Maybe they just want to focus in on the poke power and have her be a sort of AD caster alongside this Karma.
So technically speaking, the only one building armor in an effective manner will be the Jarvan. Oh well, the Jax and the Jarvan are going to be building armor, but there's no true tank in the team from Lotus. That means that lethality may be able to find a lot of value from a safe distance, and that also means that technically Caitlyn doesn't need to stand still to try and lay down her damage. He can just lay down the traps. I think it's passive fire, and then the sniper from a really safe distance, which can work out really well, but I'm not sure if it's going to be an effective tool to try and keep control of the game. It's going to be fun though. If Seb actually plays a lethality build, I think it'll be the first time we've actually seen Caitlyn lethality in the ACL, at least streamed.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's gotta be. So
don't remember any before.
Yeah, none that immediately come to mind. So probably a first for the ACL streams, at least for this split. I'd be pretty happy to say so, as yeah, maybe the first of many, depending on how the rest of these playoffs go, depending on who we end up featuring. Both of these teams going to be looking to increase their odds of being featured again here. The further in the bracket you go, the more likely you are to be on stream. That's the general rule of thumb here. Still plenty of the bracket for next week being built on up. Remember, we will not be on a Monday games yet, by the way. So we will be playing both lower bracket and upper bracket next Friday. The first Monday games will be on the 20th. So for those keeping track at home and trying to follow along with the Aegis playoffs, we'll get the full week off for the last time this upcoming week. So we are on to the Rift, though. Lotus Exiles versus Clown Gaming. Game number 3 for all the marbles, starting right now.
And we've seen a level 1 in the previous 2 games from both teams, actually, trying to get control really early on into the enemy jungle. But this time around, it's going to be a pretty standard controlled game. Both sides trying to look for vision, trying to get control, but not going to look too aggressively into trying to get an early advantage.
Yeah, it's the first time where we don't have 5 people sprinting bot lane tonight. So, yeah, it's been a lot about these Senna lanes so far. It's been a lot about the pikes. It's been a lot about taking control of those bottom lane bushes. No longer. Instead, the focus is going to be on keeping a safe spread, not letting too much aggressive vision end up coming on down. Defensive wards placed all around the bottom side by Lotus. They want to make sure they are not getting invaded at level 1.
Well, they at the very least know that the Caitlyn Nautilus lane, more than likely, it's going to try and get as much control as they can. So keeping that sort of control is really, really good. Although they have the land, so they are going to look inside of the enemy jungle, trying to keep vision cleared. They are going to spot it, and they are going to try and steal the red buff. There's safe vision as well inside of the top side of the jungle to try and keep the red buff from Exiles safe. And a pretty mirrored play, but one that feels like maybe Clown Gaming is getting the better at, because they are going to get the birds, plus maybe the red buff.
Yep, starting over on the birds, moving down towards red buff. They should have some kind of idea that this is going on. Shorter Race going to get spotted on that ward, and Excelsis maybe going to choose to head out as a result. Shorter Ace took only the wolves and then immediately came down here to make sure that he could secure his own red buff. And Excelsis looks indecisive about what exactly his response to this is going to be.
Way too long now.
He hides back over. He's coming back. But Shorter Ace doesn't have the smite. Excelsis is going to be able to snag that back. Lands the above and below. Now flag and drag over the wall from Shorter Ace. Everything goes wrong for Shorter Ace here as Excelsis is able to complete his mission.
Yeah, Excelsis,
he's still on him.
Like you were mentioning, he's still
on him. He's chasing him down, looking for the first blood, thrown back over the wall. Expended the flash. Shorter Ace. He can't farm. He can't do anything.
Yeah, now they're looking for City. They don't find the trap in the right direction, but it doesn't really matter because they do get a really good trade onto both of them. And yeah, like you're mentioning, the fact that Excelsis not only finds so much damage, are they looking to dive?
They are setting on up here. Excelsis is leading the charge. Cryogen tanks up the turret. They're focusing on a City Witty. City Witty goes down for first blood. Excelsis takes a huge shot from the turret as it's amped up too far, but taking City Witty out of here, denying him this CS, that's huge for Clown Gaming.
Exactly, the tower dive ends up working out, and it's all the prep. I want to start from the start of it because they went into the invade so well executed. They find the right angle and they are able to find the inside track for Excelsis to get every bit of gold. If we get a replay, we can actually see the whole transition of how the play went. But the most crucial part is this: Excelsis, you were mentioning, kind of flip-flopping between what he wanted to do, but here he flashes in, smite steals, like you were mentioning. Jarvan doesn't have the smite, so he ends up missing it out, and then tries to back in a weird spot. He actually doesn't decide for it. Excelsis finds him once again, and even though it doesn't turn into a kill, it's the setup for the tower dive because there's no jungler anymore. They can actually force the tower dive, and since there's a huge minion wave because of the previous play forcing onto City Witty so effectively, he actually has to stay near the turret. They commit so well. Yes, there's a trade, but Excelsis gets the kill, Ro16 gets the counter kill, and then they lose out on so many minions. It's a huge victory from Clown Gaming to start it up. Oh,
absolutely. Here is
should be fine.
Now going to get forced out. Could get snared on up here by City Witty, but feels safe to take this Rift Scuttler. Shout out to Risen Esports coming in with the raid here. You've come at just the right time as we get into game 3 in the first round of playoffs. Both teams looking to move on here, and Clown Gaming doing an excellent job of striking first with this Bel'Veth focused strategy. 2 turret plates secured for Zev as well, as they are doing their best to choke City Witty out of this game.
2 turret plates, has 1 assist, has 10 CS, 12 CS of lead, or 14 CS of lead over City Witty, hasn't back yet. That means that as soon as the Caitlyn comes back, that's a lot of gold that she's going to be able to spend and be able to pressure even more onto the Aphelios. That's for 1,400 in the on base, ready to be spent.
Definitely. Stabonair finds himself at low HP here up against Darkwings. Definitely going to want to keep himself safe here, especially if Darkwings is close to ticking up to level 6. Could potentially go in for the one shot with that unleashed power.
Yeah, probably going to be going back, teleporting in, and then trying to play around that factor. Boyle has level 6, could actually look aggressive for this play if he feels like he can get the solo kill. And yeah, he actually ultis before Lawrence is able to get to that level 6 mark.
Great chunk of damage found there as Rovax is getting pushed back in the bottom lane. Excelsis just hovering down here, setting up his tent and continuing to focus wherever he can. Both from Cryogen, they're going to chain that onto City, and City is down. Excelsis finds another kill in the bottom lane, and this Aphelios is still struggling here, getting set even further behind.
It's fine if you want to bait it, Rubix, but you cannot leave your AD carry to take the full brunt of the attack. Second death for the Aphelios. City going to miss out on another huge wave, and that also is going to turn into the first dragon of the game. This has been the earliest dragon that they have been able to get, but it's also the first time that they have complete and true control over the bot lane. Absolutely nothing that City can do to try and answer back to it. And Gordo, I think it is going to be the lethality Caitlyn going to come through with that already there completed.
And such an early lead to it as well. It is going to be a menace with those ace in the holes, especially. It's going to be so hard to play here, especially with a kind of relatively squishy early game comp, right? The Jarvan, he's already got that Iron Spike whip. His first item is not going to give him any armor. everybody is really going to end up taking a big beating from an ace in the hole on their head, and it's going to give Clown Gaming so much control over these early dragons, over these early Rift Heralds if they choose to rotate for them.
So I gotta say, Gordo, I was able to one-shot an AD carry from 3 screens away by ulting as the Caitlyn, and it was the most satisfying thing I think I've done in League in a while. So I hope that we get that sort of action from Zeb as well. It does take more than one item, but I'm interested in seeing how it's going to come through with Zeb being able to go into that lethality build. And with the Jarvan not really finding angles to try and gank into multiple lanes, like because of how the early game went, even if he's keeping so close in CS to the Bel'Veth, he hasn't really been a factor in the rest of the map, and that's a worrying trend because one of the big things you value about the Jarvan is his ganking capabilities, but he's not able to gank at all.
That is indeed what's going on here for Shorter Ace, as he's just been strangled out of the early game by the plays from Exiles, and Exiles has actually given up a lot of the CS advantage that he had built up from that because he's spent it camping bottom lane. He's spent it picking on up kills for the Clown Gaming squad. You know, he's claiming it for himself too. It's not like he's donating them to Zev. He is happy to be snowballing out of control here, and once again the Lotus Exiles bot lane find themselves forced out of the play. Zev continuing to just farm up plates. Ace in the hole, going to connect, chunking Ro16 out a little bit here.
It's just trying to send a message. Pretty much just saying, I know you're there, you're going to take the hit, and you're not going to do anything about it. And they know that nothing is going to come in because they know the Jarvan is not close by. They have barely any damage to try and fight back, and it's a scary prospect for them as Boyle and Lawrence fighting once again.
Yep, it's going to be a little bit of an exchange of health bars there. I don't expect too much else to blow up on this side of the map. Excelsis has recalled. He's got that level 6 now, so it's going to be stacking on up the Lavender even faster and has that reset potential now in these upcoming fights. First Rift Herald was not successfully secured by Clown Gaming, but expect to see them try to make some plays towards the second one here, as it is a favorite for the Bel'Veth if she's able to get her hands on it.
Yeah, just in general, for the passive value, you want to try and secure it. Even if it's the second one, I tend to not value the second Herald as much, obviously because it's post blades, so it's not like you're going to get a lot of value out of it. But in this game where you have the Bel'Veth condition, you want to try and accelerate that as much as possible. So the Rift Herald actually looking like a potential play for them when thinking about objectives, and also the fact that they have the Caitlyn kind of close to taking the first turret, something that the Caitlyn does too, but really close at achieving that, means that they are willing and they can just move around players all around the map to try and secure that objective. Oh,
ooh, hook from Cryogen into that depth chart. They're looking to hold down Dark Wings. The damage going to get focused on Ro16 first. He's burning to the Ignite, and he will drop to Cryogen. A third kill for the Clowns as they take their winnings and are going to look to move right into the jungle as always. Lawrence TP's back to lane, and Boil the Oil gonna back on off.
Yeah, pretty much means that they are giving up the dragon on the other side. Oh, taking the damage there. Seb not able to connect actually, which means that probably not going to get the huge chunk onto CD Weedy. It's not going to hit, right? Oh no,
the Herald. They got it to focus onto Cryogen, and it doesn't crash at all. No gold cash out for the Exiles. And just rubbing salt in the wound there are the Clowns. As Boil the Oil brawling with Lawrence here as a big call to Meek to regen back some health.
Yeah, they pretty much are just trading cooldowns at that point, but the big issue here is jungle is looking really, really bad for the side of Lotus Exiles. And then on the bot side, barely any bit of gold going into the Aphelios, whereas the Caitlyn has already the completed Mythic. Goes back to base to get an extra dagger just in case, and is going to be able to take down this turret before the 14-minute mark, it feels like. If that's the case, what sort of control do Lotus have at this point?
That's the question, right? They have been set pretty far behind here. They're going to need to try to find themselves some way to claw back into this game. Will it be through Dark Wings, who's built himself up a solid CS lead? Will it be through scaling with Lawrence? Those have got to be where you're starting to look, because you are so far away from being able to scale with this Aphelios. And very nice footwork here from Zeb. Flash away from the hook is required from City, and now Ro16 caught on the wrong side of the map, about to give up another kill to the Clowns.
once again, so well played in general with how they executed that. Played around the hook with City Witty, forces the flash out of the Aphelios, and then Ro16 commits really early on for the play, ends up actually getting played around with, and that means that they cannot force the kill. They find the kill into Ro16, the first turret blood going into the pockets of the side of Clown Gaming, and the second dragon of the game more than likely going to be collected by them. They are on pace to just snowball this game out of control if they keep this up, and there's barely anything that they can do to try and stop this because of how the game has been going so far. Cryogen looking forward.
Zev skating into the fray here, gonna end up actually caught inside the Cataclysm. There's the unleashed power, but it goes on a Cryogen, and he just soaks that damage up. Darkwing's not able to return fire effectively, and both teams are just gonna back away. No blood shed.
Yeah, the ultimate being used does force the heal, if I'm not wrong there, and the flash from Cryogen. So a small victory in the amount of losses that we've seen so far for Lotus. It's something good to see. At the very least, they are finding avenues to try and fight back in some way. Will it matter long term? Not 100% sure. But at the very least, you're finding those avenues in a really effective manner. And then on the top side, because we don't see a lot of pressure up there, it doesn't really matter that Lawrence is doing a good enough job pushing into the turrets or anything like that, because he's just not finding enough of a gold lead to be able to maximize the value, as Darkwings take a huge chunk from the lethality Caitlyn.
Yeah, it was just an ace of the hole channel while he was sitting in the river there. Gets a big boatload of damage on him, generates gold for the Caitlyn, and it just throws the timing all out of whack. Look at how desynced he is from the rest of the team now. That gives Zev a chance to just fire away at this turret, take more turret plates. And Clown Gaming, once again, second game in a row here. Their game plan is going exactly as they would have drawn it up, and they are building themselves up a huge lead for it.
Yeah, it's obviously not the same 7-0 Sev that we saw in the previous game, right? But it's the fact that they have so much control that it barely matters that they are not that far ahead, because they just keep on controlling the map. There's nothing that Lotus can do to answer back because they don't have the control to answer back.
They certainly do not. That is what has ended up costing them here. Zev getting so much pressure through the bottom lane. Excelsis keeping the farm up on the Bel'Veth, 2-0 and 2 on the pick, keeping those Lavender stacks going. And now with control over the Rift Herald, they're going to look to get her into her true form for the next little bit, and doesn't look like Lotus Exiles are going to be able to stage defense. Cryogen maybe wishes he didn't connect with that that dredge line, but we'll be able to just walk it out.
Yeah, at this point, it doesn't feel like he cares, right? Because they are so far ahead that they know there's barely anything that can kill him unless there's 4 members there and a Syndra to try and have the damage to lock her, to burst them down, which is really difficult to see happening. Darkwings getting actually locked down here, may end up dying.
Debonair just destroying him in the one-on-one. Darkwings tries to take a fight underneath the enemy turret, can't do it. Debonair shields himself, survives the dive from Shorter Race. Shorter Race now tanking up, dodge away, the heal. W, Debonair styling on goals in the bottom lane, takes down 2 while the team keeps the siege going.
Yeah, and they were looking for the counterplay there on Excelsis, but it's not going to be the case, and it's going to be 2 turrets in the mid lane, 2 kills for Debonair on the side lane, and complete another disaster for the side of Lotus Exiles. And Darkwings knew this was happening, but he just took the full brunt of the damage. As soon as you fail this initial Q and the second one, you're losing out on the trades. Takes a turret shot, if I'm not wrong, because the Debonair is close to the range of the turret, so even if the unleashed power comes through, they were still going to be a kill. And then Shorter Race, this is the unlucky part of being so far behind the game, because you're so far behind, you're lacking damage in both levels and items, and then this flash. That's the end of it. That's the end of it all.
Yeah, I'm surprised he takes turret aggro again there. Doesn't appear to have been expecting it, but his minions are just a little too far away. He takes more shots, gets desperate, aims that strike, the Dragon Strike, doesn't land it either. And Debonair coming up huge in the bottom lane from 0-0-1 to 2-0-1. Hook landed onto Lawrence, he's dead.
What happened between game 1 and games 2 and 3, Gordo? Because this is the unleashed Clown Gaming that we were kind of expecting to come through. How much damage?
Wow.
Almost kills the Aphelios.
Yep. Still stacking up. And I mean, he's got to have been kind of close to the collector threshold there too. Very close to a kill for Zev.
Yep.
As Yeah, I mean, he's not even the star of the game anymore, right? Excelsis getting real fed on this Bel'Veth, and now Debonair very strong on the Karma, going for AP, not for support items, at least so far, is going to be a big damage threat in his own right.
Ooh, closer to almost being pushed away, but yeah, looking at the highlight there a little bit on the Caitlyn, she has 8,000 gold. She is the most fed member in terms of gold in the game, and also has a lot of damage to back it up. I'm surprised we didn't see also, by the way, the Bel'Veth going into the Stride Breaker, just so that people can't escape her grip. But in general, when you're this far ahead, it's not like it really matters what you're opting into, but more so what you're trying to accomplish with those items. And it feels like Exiles is thinking, I'm going to go in, soak up the damage, and don't die at all. Which I feel like it's a fair enough play. It's just how effective will it come, and especially if it's not going to backfire.
Shorter Ace fishing around over on the other side. Not going to end up finding anything here. It might be a brawl over this red buff that's spawning in a few seconds. Meanwhile, now there's the teleport being channeled. This is Debonair coming to assist Boil the Oil. This is a 2 versus 4, but they have the turret to play defense around, and Cryogen is arriving to the play. Here come Ro16 and Shorter Ace. Flag and drag over the wall, going to look to hold down Debonair and blow him up. Shutdown is found for Lawrence, and Cryogen has to flash out to safety. They've got Zev on the bottom side. He threw down the ace in the hole, but that is the only thing he can do. Meanwhile, though, Excelsis is just hammering on this bot inner turret. A teleport from Dark Wings to defend.
Yeah, teleport coming in. They don't get the bot lane turret, which is a small victory, not only because they do get the kill onto Debonair. I think it was a shutdown, so they are able to find quite a good amount of value there, and they also probably are not going to get this red buff, which another good victory for the side of Clown Gaming. It's not a huge one, but it's something you have to be able to grasp onto, because right now at this point of the game, you need to find anything that you can.
They absolutely do. Excelsis arming up here in the jungle, taking whatever he can and continuing to get those lavender stacks. He is truly ahead of Shorter Ace now, finding a lot more angles to steal away jungle camps. And Shorter Ace spending a little time in the death chamber, spending a little time trying to make desperation plays and not paying off, just falling behind in this one-on-one matchup.
And that level 11 now having even more value for the Bel'Veth, plus the fact that she's going to clear her whole jungle and then go back, probably has the second item already close to be completed. This game is looking really, really scary, with Excelsis being the prime carry and then having Zev on the backside just having a lot of value by himself.
Definitely here. So now dive in from Lawrence, looking for a little trade onto Debonair here. Now going to be taking him very low. Excelsis is here for the backup, as is Cryogen. Lawrence going into that evasion, but going to end eventually. Flashes over the wall, but you're on the wrong side of the map, buddy. He has to jump back over, and it looks like he's actually created enough distance. Cloud Gaming are going to let that fish go.
Yeah, they are going to respect the fact that at the end there's a flash coming through, and I think that's a good enough play. Although, oh, Shorter Ace, you're getting collapsed on, dude.
Wow, so much damage out of Zev's Caitlyn. Blows that Jarvan out of the water, and now here's Boil the Oil finding the collapse onto Lawrence, dashing forward, snared up by Rovex, throws down the Dominus. They will take this fight, but funneling into the choke, Boil the Oil gets punished and taking a few little pings away from City Witty while he's there, but now pushed back. The trap line is set by Zev, and the Baron is being started. Boil the Oil gonna be able to teleport back into this. Stun lands onto Zev. Unleash power takes him low. He has to flash out to safety. He's still burning down. Fires out one more Q to chunk down Lawrence. Teleport back from Boil the Oil as he's going to lead the charge back in and take Lawrence to the ground. Throwing out the ace in the hole. Dark Wings is chunked out low. It's City Witty, the only one at any kind of reasonable health total. Excelsis over the wall, cuts down Dark Wings and gets a numbers advantage back over to Clown Gaming. There's only 3 members left, and they do not feel like they can fight for this Baron. Lotus Exiles are forced back.
They do have teleport on Lawrence. If they are able to buy enough time, Lawrence can try and come back, but they are going to reset out of the Baron buff, and I think it's a smart approach by Clown Gaming. They did take the victory already. You kill Dark Wings, you kill Lawrence, 2 of the biggest members at this point. As we see the replay, it starts with the side of Clown Gaming wanting to force the fight, but Boyle takes a huge chunk of damage, and Zev as well does take a huge chunk of damage later, we'll see, from the Syndra. But then, because of the amount of time that they have, Boyle can teleport back into the play has enough time to rejoin the team and then be able to deal enough damage. It was becoming way too messy, and Zeb almost pays the price with his life. Actually not enough to get killed by the first strike. Almost Baron buff, first strike plus the burn from the Liandry's almost kills him. But red buff and heal keeping him alive enough so that the rest of the team can collapse and save the day. Also really fancy play here over the wall that ends up getting the kill onto Darkwings later on.
Well played by Exiles, using that true form to its fullest potential. Is Lawrence up so far. I don't think there's a miraculous escape in the tank this time, buddy. Well, he seems to think otherwise. Depth charge coming out, and there's the flash in from Excelsis. They're going to commit everything they need to because they want the numbers advantage for the Baron.
Okay, I wanted to believe there was a chance, but there wasn't. Sadly for the Lawrence, there's no hope. He still has teleport, so could be an opportunity for them to try and fight in case the Baron is it. But they are looking for the Dragon. They are looking for the Soul Prize. And in the meanwhile, maybe Lotus trying to sneak out the Baron in the process. But they don't need to send all members from Clown Gaming. They just need to send 2.
Yeah, just look at the minimap there. All the members of Clown Gaming, they see their ward get swept, and they all turn tail right away. It's a 2-man squad working on the Dragon. Cryogen, Zev, and Debonair trying to distract on the other side. Nice dodge away on the Scout of the Week. The hook from Cryogen. He's going to be thankful that one didn't connect, as that could have pulled him well out of position. The Dragon Soul going down here in just a couple seconds. Soul secured for the Clowns. They're going to look for the fight as Boyle arrives. Cryogen flashes into the team and forces flashes in turn, pulls back in Shorter Ace, but will go down. City Witty picks up his first kill of the game, I'm pretty sure, and the Clowns are pushed back, but hey, have the Soul in tow.
Shorter Ace is really low though. I'm not sure if this is the right approach here, because they do have Lawrence, yes, but you have the Bel'Veth that is stronger than your jungler and can try and get one reset to change the whole outcome of the fight. It's a really scary attempt to try and look for, and here comes the ultimate from the Caitlyn. That's so much damage. Yeah, they have to disengage.
Says, get down, Mr. President, protects his carries, but oh boy, does he take a boatload of damage for it. And Clown Gaming, 4 versus 5, push off the Lotus Exiles. They're just getting stronger and stronger as their health bars whittle down as well. Excelsis is going to lose his true form here before too long, and yeah, gonna have to settle for being a regular old Bel'Veth.
Well, that's strong enough by itself, don't get me. I think that's a really good approach to have as the Bel'Veth. That being said, it's not going to be the best of opportunities to try and fight because you don't have your true form. And if they are able to find a slight opportunity as Lotus Exiles, maybe that can be the call to try and turn around the game. As Baron starts, Lawrence has no teleport, actually. I think he committed it before, so now it's a complete open Baron buff. And there's a lot of time before they actually are able to reach. Even Short Race is so far away.
Gonna take a very long time here. The Baron falling incredibly low. Lotus Exiles cannot get the position in time. Shorter Ace arrives. He realizes what's happening, but he's getting held down by Cryogen over the wall. He flashes back in. He needs this steal, but Zev is gonna shoot him down. Here comes the follow-up engage from Lotus Exiles. They're trying to take it front to back. A huge stun from Lawrence. Lawrence takes down every single member of Clown Gaming and holds them in place for Dark Wings to blow up. Lotus Exiles find the fight they were looking for, and they're gonna turn it into the Baron buff.
That is such a big throw by Clown Gaming. They opt into killing Shorter Race instead of killing the big purple worm, and that turns into a team fight that, out of nowhere, Lotus is able to completely demolish. And this is the thing, Seth may be lethality, but he's still a Caitlyn. You're going to die. I don't know why they don't just kill the Baron buff here. Yes, Shorter Race dies here, but it doesn't really matter because they are not killing the targets in the right spot. Excelsis is getting controlled by the charm, by the Syndra, by Lawrence flashing in a perfect timing, and it's just impossible for them to find the right fight because they are getting completely CC'd out of their lives.
Every single draft, Lotus have prioritized this Jax for Lawrence, demonstrating why here as he equalizes the game in gold. The Dragon Soul for Clown Gaming cannot be disregarded. But a massive comeback by the Exiles here, and just like that, it's anybody's game.
Yeah, the biggest problem here with that is that, yes, you get the soul, but because you gave up the Baron buff after such a horrible fight, means that now when the Elder comes through, which is the actual important objective of the game, like, yes, Chemtech is fine as a soul. Actually, it's not. Like, I hate Chemtech as a soul. It's not that useful. And this time around, you're now in a spot where if you fight for the Elder Dragon, you actually may lose out on the Dragon and lose out on the game because the Elder is much bigger objective than the Soul. So it's a scary prospect for Clown if they are not careful enough now.
And listen, they have Lavender stacks for days on this Bel'Veth. She's very strong. She slaps you very quickly. She's got a 50 CS lead on the shorter aces Jarvan. You've been stocking up gold from the first strike on Zev. Your composition does what it does. But the scaling is coming online for Lotus Exiles. They've got 2.5 items on to their Aphelios. They've got tons of Splinters of Wrath onto Dark Wings. He's on 3 items. Lotus are starting to scale into this game, TDS, and the Clown Gaming roster, it is so hard on this composition to miss a step. And they've missed a huge one here in losing that Baron fight. Can they restabilize and challenge for this Elder Dragon?
It feels like they should be able to, but it's just a weird thing to try and lay down here, especially because even though like they were able to make an important comeback, there are still members that don't feel that strong when you think about how the fight should go, right? For Lotus, City is not as strong as he could be. He has 2 items now, but it's not comparable to the point where you want to have your fellows be. And then you have on the other side the Renekton that can try and kill some targets. Then you have the Caitlyn that is strong with 3 lethality items, but this means that the Caitlyn doesn't evolve past this point. Like, Caitlyn is strong at 2.5 items, 3 items with lethality build. When there's more gold in the Caitlyn, then the items are not going to stack up because if they are lethality, they are not consistent crit Caitlyn, and that's going to be a big factor in this game.
Yeah, no, definitely not going to have the time to be able to convert your build at this stage of the game. Shout out to Gentle Hearts Gaming, by the way, coming in with the raid. Celsius takes a big chunk to start off here. Nice stun found by Dark Wings, and Dark Wings is just pushing back Clowns single-handedly here.
Syndra is really strong. They are able to keep control of the space thanks to it. And the more balls there's on the ground, the more they can fight. Lawrence on the back.
Oh, another multi-stun found by Dark Wings. Lawrence is on top of Zev. Excelsis, keep your eyes on the Bel'Veth. He's stunned up. He's going to go into the defensive stance, but the rest of the team is just getting cut down around him. Lotus Exiles with another beautiful engage. Cut down 4 members of Clown Gaming and are looking to push into the base.
And Clown is going to completely lament the fact that they, first of all, they didn't ban Lawrence as Jax, but second of all, how that Baron buff went, because they completely had the game in control at that point, and they gave it up with that Baron play, and now it's going to be Lotus Exiles qualifying for the next round in a game that felt like it was completely for Clown Gaming. This is not unexpected, but at the end of the day, it's the most tragic way to end the game for Clown. They were so far ahead in so much of the game until they weren't. And it's really unlucky how it ends up going.
Forget about your seeding, forget about your record, forget about your lead. This is playoffs, and Lotus are here to play. Clown Gaming dropped to the lower bracket despite a massive lead in game number 3. Lotus Exiles fight back and will move on to face Winthrop next week. Look at this team fight. The double stun onto the 2 most important targets, Zev and Excelsis. Dark Wings puts it together, sets up for Lawrence, and demolishes the fight.
Perfect setup, but I think it also works out because of the Chemtech Rift, because of the pushback. Lawrence gets to the fight so quickly and then able to find the perfect angle because he goes over the wall. So it's just everything working out perfectly with the angle that the Chemtech Rift gives Lawrence. That being said, it's a fight that should have never happened in the context of how the game was going. They were so far ahead. They just needed 1 more out attack on the Baron buff. Like, you can see the moment, the exact moment where everything went downhill for Clown Gaming. And it's that Baron play. If they just kill the Baron and then play the fight normally, they probably win the game. but they decide to go into shorter race to kill the Jarvan that barely had anything to do. And it just works out against them so heavily. Also, second week in a row where Clown pretty much loses out on the series because of a slight misstep.
Absolutely here. This is the third time we've had Clown Gaming's on the stream. And on the verge of a victory here, as they were last week, end up losing out.
Yep.
I cannot believe the Jarvan only did 3.8k damage this game, by the way. Is that real? That's
Yeah, he
insane.
doesn't exist.
How did Bel'Veth only do 5k? This is insane. I just couldn't put together the team fights there for the side of
Caitlyn only did
Clown Gaming.
17k, so like Aphelios did more than the Caitlyn, and he never was a factor in the game.
Yeah, I mean, what a great showing here from both squads. Best of luck to Clown Gaming in the lower bracket. They will play up against UCSD next Friday. Moving on will be Lotus Exiles. They have got themselves a hell of a matchup up against Winthrop University.
Yep.
As that is going to be a banger. That is certainly going to be on the short list for games to watch next week. But we have plenty of other teams we want to feature as well. Not going to make any promises about what game is going to be here. What I will promise is that we've got an interview coming up here shortly. Looks like we are going to get a hold of Shorter Ace to talk to us about tonight's match. So we're going to throw it to a quick break while we get him set on up. But don't go anywhere. We're going to talk to Shorter Ace in just a couple of minutes.
Try to make yourself remember, darling. Don't look for me, I'm just a story you've been told. So let's pretend a little longer, 'cause when we're gone, everything goes on. You were staring at the window, and I said, I wanna take you to the sea. And when I'm better, we'll do everything. I gotta stop making promises I can't keep. But if I was gone tomorrow, won't the waves crash on? Is it selfish that I'm happy as we pass the setting sun?
Welcome back, everybody, to the Aegis Champions League. We are joined by the victorious LCS veteran Shorter Ace. Shorter Ace, thank you so much for joining us today, my man.
Hello, it's nice to be here. Thank you.
All right, well, want to open up with tonight's big comeback here. You guys were set well behind in game number 3. Felt like Clown Gaming's Bel'Veth composition had everything going according to plan, but with a huge turnaround at the Baron, you guys managed to come back. What are comms like in the team? What's the vibe like in the Discord when you guys are set so far behind like that? And how do you manage to restabilize and come back?
I mean, realistically, we're a team of mostly just like 5 random people. Like our bot lanes and our bot and top they play together a lot. But for me, I honestly don't play the game at all. And then my mid plays like collegiate, and he's always known to be really good. So for me, it feels like kind of like low stakes. Our games, even when we're behind, we kind of just play it out. Like it's if they're like even this game 2, where we're like down like 10k, we're just kind of just playing, even though it's like it looks pretty doomed. So I don't think I think a lot of the experience helps a lot just to stay calm, like regardless, because we do get behind a lot of our games, but it doesn't matter because we're just better, I think.
Is that also the sort of mentality that you're going to keep moving forward, especially going against quote-unquote stronger teams on the league, right? Like facing against now Winthrop, then going potentially maybe against CFT or Pitch Cats on the other side. Like this, is that the same mentality you guys will probably keep going forward into those teams as well?
I think after that game, we decided we might scrim next week. So it'll be our first scrims of the whole tournament, I would say. And I mean, we're going up against Winthrop next series, right? Which is the best best collegiate team that has ever been produced. It'll be fun. I mean, we like playing stronger opponents because, like I said, like we played Peach Cats, we played Mirage, we played like Ole Miss. They're all like really mechanically really gifted. So like even though we like lost, it felt like pretty fun to play against those teams. And you know, I'll probably play more than 2 solo games within the span of a month.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So I want to talk about the drafts in game 1 and 2 a little bit to turn back the clock here. You guys going for some interesting Senna compositions on both games. You have the Senna Rengar with the Ivern jungle in game number 1, and then the Senna Scion with the Morgana jungle in game number 2. What kind of drives the unique approaches to drafts that you guys bring to the table here in these games, as you guys have been really going for some kind of different off the wall stuff that have been really hard to predict in these drafts?
Specifically for game number 1, I mean, we had Santa picked. They picked Sejuani. I think they picked top laner as well. So Ivern looked really good. Although I wasn't actually thinking about the Rengar angle. That just kind of came up because we had Ivern. He has pocket picks. Like our champion pools, I would say, are pretty deep for every player because we've all been playing for a long time and we all have like niche picks that we can pull out if need be, or if it looks good. For game 2 specifically, it kind of just happened that we got that draft, like game 2. I didn't think we dropped jungle to like a 10 pick. I thought I was just gonna pick like something very simple, but then it was like a Morgana angle. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. I kind of ran it down, but I like that specific matchup. Funny enough, Morgana Poppy. It's an all matchup.
All right. Well, ends up favoring Excelsis that time around, but you guys bring it back in game number 3. Maybe you want to talk about the early game in game number 3 as well. We talked a little bit before we went live that the Excelsis flipped it on you a little bit. Cave in very early at the level 1, really went hard at the paint, managed to steal away the red buff, and managed to keep the pressure on up against you in that third game. What kind of were you guys expecting out of the Belveth, and how were you able to react to that play?
I mean, we were expecting the invade, like lane invade, like 100%. Like that is like very standard. So I was expecting to be able to do my wolves and kill at red. Fortunately, they had the really good ward on the Raptors, so it's not a surprise that I would match it. Because generally, I only go for that play because I assume they don't expect it. And we were able to push him out of red, but he flipped the red invade. He walked in and just smited it with no vision. So I was like, you know, that's pretty brave. And I probably just did golems and kept it safe because he's kind of pushed out of there and he only gets like 1 camp. So it'd be a bad situation. Plus, because I run it down there, my bot lane gets stove. So respect to him for being so confident in his play.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, we already talked about Winthrop. Confusing my collegiate teams there. We talked about Winthrop for next week. Looking forward to seeing that match as well. We'll see what ends up featured on the stream. But before we close out for the week, want to hand the mic over to you, Shorter Race. Anybody you want to shout out? Anything you want to say to those who are tuned in?
Thank you for all my friends who are watching. I don't play League much anymore, so my Yu-Gi-Oh friend group actually is watching all my matches. So I appreciate them a lot. Thank you to all my friends and fans who are watching. And yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again so much for joining us here, Shorter Race, and thank you everybody at home for tuning on into this week of the Aegis Champions League. We will be back same time, 8 p.m. Eastern next Friday with either a lower bracket or a upper bracket match. Still TBD what our featured match is going to be, but no Monday games next week. We are going all the way full week into Friday. Monday games will start after that. Thank you again for tuning in. From myself, TDS, who is currently dying once again, and Caddy on production. We appreciate you guys being here, and we'll see you next time.